All right, we'll just hang out and yap. I'm calling it up.
Hello.
Hello.
Yo.
He just said we could hang out and yap also, so I just fucking called it up.
Fucking just bonus PoddyC episode. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, we could do chained, but Growl's a fucking downer, dude. Actually, wait, you know what we could do? Do you guys want to interview that guy?
What guy?
There's a guy, look in the pod Discord. There is a guy who wants to apply to be the mole person representative. Growl, we were talking about how, like, everyone wants to listen to mole people. Like, they want a mole,
Yeah, they want a mole representative.
They want someone, I mean, well, like, they've been saying this for years before mole people were discovered. Like, casuals, right? It's like, guys, get a fucking casual on the podcast. I did on my YouTube channel, let me scroll back and find it. I did a stream where I basically reacted to a, like, random podcast that I guess you could, like, most of the people were pretty casual level. And it was called, like, I reacted to casuals, and I think it, like, popped the fuck off. So, like, definitely if you're trying to get good viewers, like, clearly people are really interested in us talking with... Dude, where the fuck is this thing? It wasn't that long ago, was it? Here we go. I listened to World of Warcraft casuals. 3-hour video, 215,000 views, right?
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on here?
So...
Is that a sleeping vid or something? What happened there?
What do you mean a sleeping vid?
Like one of those vids that like you know how YouTube knows when you're sleeping and it like auto plays really long vids. And
oh
then
yeah,
algorithms get labeled as sleeping vids. And
yeah,
they just like.
Wait, they get labeled as sleeping vids.
Oh yeah, you guys don't have that. It's like it knows exactly like the exact stuff that it to play.
Oh, I didn't know that. I guess it makes sense. Like if YouTube thinks you're sleeping, it would be super smart for them to just feed you like the longest fucking videos of all time, so you just like farms ads while you're asleep.
Oh, it does 100%. It does 100%.
So I'm looking at it now. Like Haruma Red has a couple of these. Like they're intentionally. I think the titles are actually things to fall asleep to, and they have insane views. And if he's smart at all, he has the ads on that thing turned up to 1 million.
They're really long too. Really long videos.
I'm trying to see if I can find. Dude, he hasn't done them in a bit, unless I'm looking at the wrong channel. They probably take a long time to make. I think.
Yeah, he does like really.
Just for the rare circumstance that someone actually watches it, you don't want to. You want to make sure that you don't get bad metrics of people clicking it off. Oh, 3+ hours of the hardest grinds in WoW. 80k views.
Oh hell yeah.
3 hours. Holy shit.
That's a banger. Yeah, I gotta start doing that.
What if we just watch that
your
together?
content is like mega bedge.
Holy,
oh my god, that would be a fucking... And then release 4 versions of the YouTube videos on all of our channels.
Oh, yes.
With different thumbnails.
Holy shit, that'd be crazy.
Dude. Okay. So we have this app. We were basically talking on the podcast, or I don't even know if it was on podcast or Patreon or something, but we mentioned how viewers are always like, whenever there's not a healer on, they're like, get a healer perspective. Or if there's ever not, wherever we're talking about casual shit and all of us are like, you know, admittedly like, yeah, guys, we kind of don't understand this, but we're just kind of, we're guessing here. They're like, get a fucking representative. And then Dratnos and I keep saying like, guys, I don't think you understand how, like, what kind of a mythical creature you're asking for.
I think you do, but you don't.
Yeah. Well, it's not you think you do, you don't. It's like that person would be amazing. Like a really good podcast guest that loves WoW so much that they play it all the time, but they also play it all the time but never go past a certain point, because that's the really rare part. Because usually if you start playing it all the time, you actually just naturally progress into playing other parts of the game, and then you become not the mole person, right? It's hard, like the exact point in time where someone would be a perfect guest or something like this, or someone that has actually just stayed at that casual level, plays it all the time, but also has great takes, is super interesting and easy to listen to on a podcast. This person is like one in a billion, right?
Yeah. And a big problem as well is that the people that volunteer to be on podcasts tend to also be like
tough. Yeah, that's not
the people that you want on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's true.
Shots fired.
I mean, it's true. Like if well, okay, let's just say 10 people are like, here are my qualifications to be your podcast guest. One of them is probably just like benevolent and is actually just trying to help you out, and the other 9 like want to be famous or something, or they like just want to be on the podcast and think they have it. So it's hard to find.
You should just never trust anybody that wants to be on a podcast, including all 4 of us.
True.
under any circumstances.
Yeah, dude, Growl
So
wants
did
to
you
be on a
guys-
podcast so bad that we didn't bring him on for a few weeks, and he just fucking made his own.
That's
Holy,
crazy, yeah.
You guys recorded your episode today, right? Or...
Wait, are you guys like?
You've got the recording schedule, or you got a spy in there?
It's actually we just finished it like a second ago.
Wait, do you guys do twice weekly?
It's for Squishy is on vacation, sort of, so we had to work around his schedule a little bit. But it's gonna be posted Tuesday.
No, but like, what's your schedule? Do you post multiple times a week? Or are you
every
doing a week?
Tuesday.
Oh, once a week. Okay, I was about to say we were thinking about doing that because like we started like at the beginning of our podcast days, we were like, guys, maybe by like every other week, but like we got to think about if we're able to deliver during the low content times of WoW, right, without being repetitive. And then we started YOLOing a few episodes and they went great. And then we started getting full of ourselves. We're like, guys, what if we could just do 2 times a week? And if there's no content, we're just good enough where we can make it work. And then we were just like, nah, that's too fucking risky. That could end up being pretty tough.
Yeah, I think it
there's so
depends a
much to
lot
talk
on
about.
what's going on. Completely random shout, by the way. You're not unrelated, not sponsored. You know, I was checking out the PoddyC Patreon availabilities. You know, not only is there a lot of great content there, but they also have it very well set up so you can see, preview different videos, see what's available. You know, it's actually not just all this podcast content, but also tons of great content on the Patreon. You guys should definitely check that out. Totally unsponsored, unrelated. I just happened to stumble across that yesterday. Also, speaking of things I stumbled across yesterday, did you guys see, now I'm going to plug myself, my most recent video that I put out? Did anyone see that yet?
Yeah, Max watched it yesterday on stream.
Oh,
I did not.
what?
Okay.
No, he didn't. Or wait, he
He
did.
did.
Wait,
He did.
you watched it on stream
Oh,
yesterday? Like the
no,
thing that
No,
I-
chat was being weird.
Oh,
What? What
It
are you
was
talking about?
the Fellowship video, the M Plus standalone game. You already saw it.
Oh no, I saw the
yeah.
game. I was just saying
Yeah,
how
yeah.
like basically if I were to make a game, if I was rich enough one day and I could make a game, I would just make what like high end game loop of WoW, so like Mythic Plus and raids, get really good fight designers, and just you're gonna miss the entire casual audience. This game will fail. Like the game is not
Yep.
going to be a business success, but it's going to be exactly what I want. And
Yep.
then I'll just like eventually run out of money and then die. And then someone in my chat was like
the hell
do you
do I-
realize they're actually making this? And then I looked at it and it was like, yeah, there's like a did you guys sign up for the alpha for it? It's in 2 weeks. You can't stream it, but I would like to just play it with people. It's basically a game that has that
I did.
it's just you make a character.
It's literally just M Plus. Like it's just
Yeah.
you load in, you pick your guy, and then you just do M Plus.
Yeah, there's
That's
no
the entire-
leveling. I think there's gear. They said there's loot at the end of things, so there is like a gearing process, which I'm assuming is just how you like go through the ranks. I looked at some of the like snippets. Oh, I mean, I didn't look at your YouTube video yesterday, but I literally did what your YouTube video is doing just on
Yeah,
my stream yesterday.
Yeah.
Damn it, you didn't post the video. Nice, I beat you to it then.
Dude, Fronk does what he wants, man.
He's a busy man. He's a busy man. You can't
yeah.
blame him for everything.
Allegedly.
Dude, I was surprised your top comment in the video said M Plus is literally all I log in to do. Oh,
That's not
crazy,
surprising.
Isn't it? That's kind of based.
I mean,
I feel like
normally-
I feel like that is true for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true for a lot of people, but you know, there's usually like people like.
It's
oh,
also-
that's not
it's
true.
also a
You know,
Mythic
I'm a
Plus
mole
YouTube
person, I log
channel.
in to do.
Yeah. What about all the
That's
mole
also
people?
true. Well, specifically, he's a healer.
Do you
so-
have Do you have a large mole people audience? You
think
created the
GameTV
worms.
has
The
a
Do,
word
well, do you want my
civilian.
honest answer? My honest answer is that I think mole people are a myth and they don't exist.
Well,
But
okay.
specifically,
There's
all
mythical
all right,
creatures.
Let me,
Okay.
let me. All right, you know, while we go on a very short, temporary mole people rant. Okay, let me define mole people. Okay.
Okay.
So I believe that there are people who play WoW casually who enjoy single player content. Okay.
Yeah.
The specific definition, in my opinion, of the mole people are people who enjoy single player content but are also so bad and so unwilling to do anything challenging that they just want absolute face roll easy mode, like just doing quests. Like, for instance, the mole people would not do the mage tower, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my definition of the mole people. So I'm not saying that there's no I just don't think these people exist. I think that everyone thinking that there's this giant player base of WoW that's unable to do anything and doesn't want any sort of challenge is I think they're
Oh,
coping.
I mean, I mostly agree with that. I think the most disingenuous thing most people say when they're talking about casuals is the assumption that they want everything given to them for free and they don't ever want to be challenged. I think the majority of casual players, there's actually just very little fun in video games and not being challenged at all. It's about like moderating it and making it fair and feeling like it's attainable rather than like having it be such a big leap that you could never do it. But like, no matter the mole people you think don't exist are the people that like actually just want to do the easiest. Okay, my counter argument is I think people like that do exist because like there are BDO style games where like the main content of the game is like just to farm power, is just to like kill these like infinite mobs over and over again, and it's just like mob
BDO
farming. Yeah, but okay, well maybe you're a mole. That's what I'm saying. Like where?
Well, but it's different though.
It's different because you're
I guess
gaining
it's kind of
power.
Yeah, because like there's nothing to gain in WoW. Yeah, there's no power.
PhD is by definition, by that definition, is a mole.
Where
person,
I
right?
agree with you, Growl, is that I think when people are saying mole people now, they're kind of just conflating it to the entire casual audience. But if mole people exist, they are at best an extremely small portion of the very large casual player base where they are like they're so casual that they don't want any challenge, and like if there's any challenge whatsoever and they don't get anything for free, they're super mad. Like Plunderstorm seemed like that. Like it seemed like there was a mole outbreak.
Ooh, that is true. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, think of all the people who PvE'd in Plunderstorm and then ran into the storm if you tried to fight them.
Yeah, those were, maybe
a lot of those people. Think about all those people who, like, level characters and, like, that's all they do. They level characters and then they hit max level and they, like,
that is the weirdest
level a new character. Like, I think those people exist and we just never hear or talk to them.
Yeah, that is peak mole behavior. Running into the storm.
Yeah, that is peak mole.
Yeah.
That is
I think leveling or like mog farming is kind of its own thing. Like, I don't know if I would totally consider those people mole people, because like, for example, they would do delves, but I don't think they would enjoy the delves. They would just do the delves until they get their transmogs and then they would quit, right?
I don't know. I think there's people who are doing like legacy raids and leveling because it's easy and like that's the content that's fun for them. But like delves in that space, like they're not doing it just because it's transmog rewards only. I think in some cases it's like, oh, I'm logging into WoW. What am I gonna do? Oh, I'll go do Ulduar again because like I can go do that by myself and I know I can win.
I do think people have kind of lost it though, because I could tell both in our last podcast and in my there's a birdcock, and our regular like stream content. I have definitely noticed people are now using mole people because it's really funny to just refer to all casuals. But it is important to mention that it is what a mole person theoretically is, if they exist.
Right.
Is like the very smallest level of casual that wants no difficulty. I guess technically things given to them for free, and they never want any challenge in the game whatsoever. Kind of.
Correct.
Which is those people we don't know if they actually exist, because it's insulting to say like, oh, if you're a casual, you just want everything given you for free. That is something that some people say that is definitely not true.
Well, that's why sort of like when you're talking about why it's hard to find these people, like that's why I don't like using the word casual, because like you can play the game a ton, but you're not doing Mythic Raid or M+. But like, you know what I mean? Like you love WoW, and
you a casual
you know what I mean?
Point?
Like that's why I use the word civilian. Like civilian is also not derogatory. Like civilian just means like you're just a normal citizen in Azeroth, right? Like it's insulting to call someone casual if they have, you know, all these mounts and achievements and maybe they've accomplished things, right? But they're just now out there living their life, right? Like calling somebody a civilian isn't derogatory. Like mole people, I can see maybe how that, you know, you might use that a little bit hostile, but
civilian definitely sounds hostile. Like that, there's a reason that every time you say civilian, a couple people in your chat get offended because it just sounds so fucking mean.
It was never. I mean, it just, you know,
it sounds so mean. Civilian. It's still one of the best bits.
Yeah, because I mean, it feels like there's never a right way to like refer to.
Well, it's because it's all relative.
Players.
It's all relative, right? Like,
yeah.
Like in raiding, when I hear someone raids 3 or 4 days a week, to me, that's a casual raid schedule. But to someone who raids 3 or 4 days a week, raiding 2 days a week might be a casual raid schedule. If you guys do a full push week and you play like 10 hours a day or whatever during that 1 week, and someone else is just doing the same thing where they're logging on maybe like an hour or two. To you, that's casually, but to some people, 2 hours a day is like a massive fucking commitment to a video game. So it all depends on what you're used to.
It's all relative. There's nothing wrong with being a civilian. Like,
the only time you hear the word civilian, it's like when it's followed by casualty. Like, there's been civilian casualties. So, like, you assume they've been...
just get gunned down in the chat.
Assume they've been killed. Dude, you guys been watching the Olympics, by the way? Or following it at all?
Really.
I've been following it on Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been seeing some headlines, but I haven't really... No, I don't watch it.
Oh, damn. I guess I'm a normie. I've been appreciating my... Like, the way the times work here is, like, really, really late at night before I go to bed. And, like, when I wake up at, like, 10 to noon Pacific time is, like, when usually all the important things are happening. And I feel like such a patriot. I get so fucking hype.
The important things?
Yeah, like, the cool stuff, you know? Like, all the... What's cool in the Olympics, right? It's like swimming, track and field. Actually, this time there's been a lot more. Volleyball is cool.
When's esports going to be on it? It's just going to be on it.
Didn't they?
Right?
Wasn't there like some kind of vote to make an esports Olympics this year?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
So
it was
that's
actually
some mobile
signed.
games.
So I think I could be wrong about this, but I know it was like some Saudi esports commission thing made a deal with the IOC. I think, if I'm guessing right, it's, you guys know they did that like esports World Cup thing recently in Saudi. It's like a month long. I think it might even still be going on, or it was going on for a while. And then I think the organizers for that, I think, secured something with the Olympics. But obviously that's a little sketchy, so who knows how that's going to turn out or how participated in that will be. But I think that would be probably pretty cool. Imagine like people right now only view esports as a... Most of the time, it can be region versus region. Like, look how much like region rivalry there is between NA and EU in any esport, or like I'm sure... like a lot of other countries. That's just the ones we're familiar with. Like, imagine if there was like a full NA league team, a full EU league team, like the best 5 players, and they practice with each other for a while. Like, I don't know. That would probably go pretty hard as far as like people caring about it, I think. But it just depends on who's running it and how it's done.
Yeah, I know Overwatch tried to do like country-based competition for a while. They had like a Overwatch World Cup or something.
Yeah, Overwatch tried...
Overwatch League.
Overwatch tried to do what is, like, conventionally successful in sports, right? Because, like, that's what esports usually misses, is esports doesn't have ticket costs. They don't sell merch that's, like, relevant or, like, culturally identifiable to a city. And they don't sell their TV rights to, like, ESPN and NBC and shit, which is where all the billions of dollars comes from for all the sports. Like, you can just watch that shit for free on Twitch. It's just, how are you making money kind of thing. And they tried to do that. They tried to, like, have city pride behind a team. They tried to have national pride. Honestly, I think it makes sense why they did it. If it just
wasn't Overwatch, maybe it would have worked.
Yeah, like, I understand why they did it, because it is kind of the only model that's proven to be successful. It's just esports wasn't ready for that yet. Like, honestly, I would bet in, like, maybe 20 years or so, like, someone finds a way to do that, and it's actually the only way to make this shit profitable at all.
Yeah, I feel like the problem with esports is it's so fast moving. Like, for instance, you know, any like football, like people have been playing football forever, right? Like your dad played it, like your grandpa played it, like everyone, you know what I mean? Like you have a legacy of a team,
true.
But when it comes to esports, like what game would there be, and would that game even be relevant in 10 years? Like, I guess it's hard to say, but I feel like
it's genre. Right, like basketball existing for 80 years. 60 years from now might be MOBAs having existed for 60 years, but it'll probably never be one game, right? It'll be the genre, and they'd have to pick a game to be the Olympic. They'd have to pick a game to be the Olympic game, or I mean, because esports is different. Maybe they'll just have the Olympics for like every popular esport game, right? There will be CS and Valorant. There will be Dota and League, right? Who knows? Is WoW going to be out in 50 years, by the way?
Crazy.
That'd be crazy.
When is WoW going to die? I don't know. Like,
what if we have a WoW podcast in 50 years? That would be wild, wouldn't it?
I feel like there's just no way WoW can die.
I feel like podcasts... Okay, hear me out. If all of us do successfully podcasts for 50 years, I feel like there is going to be a lot of people that like just have that ingrained into their life, and they're just gonna be like, dude, I like hanging with these guys that gamed when I grew up gaming. You know, every now and then, every other episode, you'd talk about when like the Xbox first came out or something, and then like people can relate to that.
That's gonna be the future of our podcast.
Holy shit!
I'm looking forward to it.
You guys remember the beginning of Shadowlands 60 years from now? Just be like, oh, what a fucking mistake that was.
Kids these days, they have no idea how good they have it.
Yeah. I feel like in 50 years we're gonna have some Black Mirror shit. I know like VR was teased like 10 years, like it was about 8 years ago, where it was like, I think the vibe behind it was like, this is definitely the future of gaming, just no one's invested in it yet. And then it like people realized pretty quickly that it's just too expensive to make, and like not enough people have it. It's like, why are mobile games so popular, right? Because everyone has a mobile phone all over the world, but not a lot of people have PCs, that kind of shit. But I think like actually 30 years from now, we've got to be doing some crazy ass VR shit. It has to be like that has to be where we end up.
That's gonna be pretty wild. VR games that are actually good. Have you played any what is it called, the Oculus Rift or whatever, like any of that stuff?
I've actually never touched it.
I have messed around with it a little bit, but I have not like played full games on it now.
Yeah, I got one a while back, and I've tried some of the games. I was not really impressed. The tech is not there yet. It would be cool. There's like some like I don't want to call it popular, but it's some like basically like Fortnite clone game where it's like trying to play a battle royale in VR, and it's not quite there. They need a little bit more time, I think. It just feels really clunky, but it would be really, really cool if it actually felt good.
I feel like the thing that's kind of scary to me, and I know people have very strong opinions about this, I feel like it's also going to be heavily AI centered. Like imagine if you love Far Cry or like God of War, just like a really, really well made single player game. And just 20 years from now, there's been enough of those games made where you can just feed that shit into the craziest AI you've ever heard of. And they just basically can just infinitely generate for you specifically your own version of like that game. And it's like 95% as good. I mean, a lot of people like, bro, if you gave me a 95% as good Far Cry game, I would just play that every weekend, a new one, right? It's like,
dude,
at least for a while.
So happy.
Like, it's like infinitely worth. Like, it'd probably start out being slop, but like eventually, at how the rate that AI is progressing, it'd probably end up being. The scary thing is not it being really shit. The scary thing is it ends up being really fucking good, right? Like, so that's.
Oh, it's gonna get real fucking good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a big part of like WoW stuff too. Like, I'm sure like 10 years from now, they could probably just like crush out dungeons.
Yeah. What about
like,
WoW? Exactly.
Very short period of time. People with AI.
Imagine Mythic Plus, or something like it, where it's just infinitely procedurally generated dungeons that have just seen every WoW dungeon ever existed. And again, it'd probably start out being super dog shit, but eventually just everything being new would be better than. Actually, I don't know if that's true of Mythic Plusers. I always forget that Mythic Plusers sometimes prefer to do the same dungeons for 2 years, so then I just remember that I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, but there's also many of them who want a different dungeon every season. So it's like, you know how people complain like, oh, why are they bringing back old dungeons and rehashing dungeons and all that shit, right? Well, now you can actually have new dungeons every season.
Someone in my chat said, or YouTube chat said, previously WoW GM specifically said AI won't be playing a role for this foreseeable future. Yeah, like every company is going to say that, but as soon as it becomes the cheapest and most efficient way to create somewhat quality things, it's going to take jobs like crazy, right? Like that's like the only alternative. Like they're all going to say that it's a good PR thing because it's never true until it's true. And I mean, the only thing would be regulation, right? Like someone would just have to, in every industry, it would just have to be regulated, or else it would probably end up doing that.
Yeah, it's mega coping from them.
Yeah, the alternative is they're very honest with you, which is, yeah, we like all the workers we have now, but I mean, just think of the possibilities if they were all gone and all this, like, you know, like, I mean, do you think they're not talking about that behind closed doors? Of course they are. Like
it's not even that. Like, I'm sure they even have like people who are still working on this stuff. It's just AI speeds up the entire process. It's not like it's entire AI. Like, I'm sure there are people who are behind it and they're doing stuff with whatever they generate.
I want to replace THD with AI.
I think that might have already happened.
Like, you'd get the exact same WoW player or close, but then he wouldn't ruin your entire menu at events by not being willing to eat anything other than chicken tenders and pizza.
Kit Kats.
Yeah, he unironically eats, like, if there's something there he hasn't seen before, even if it's like chicken and he likes chicken, but it's not like chicken he's seen prepared in a way he's seen before.
Like different looking chicken.
Yeah, he'll just get a bowl and put a shitload of candy in it and just fucking eat it. It's fucking crazy.
I mean, that goes hard. I remember when I was.
Yeah, I just love it all that.
By the way, you Mythic Plus beta doers, what's the vibe after the changes?
I'm getting a little more optimistic. I don't think it's that bad. I'm hearing a lot of people say crazy shit like, "Oh, are they gonna delay the expansion?"
Oh yeah, that's the biggest cope I've ever heard.
I don't even think I don't even understand that, by the way. Like, I remember, so when was it Shadowlands that actually was delayed? It was,
Wasn't
right?
it Dragonflight or maybe Shadowlands? Yeah.
I think it was Shadowlands, but I remember going up to Shadowlands and even I was like, this doesn't seem ready, right? I don't remember feeling that way about this expand. I think there's like remarkably little hype about the War Within, but I don't think it's necessarily really behind. Like I know we complain about tuning a lot. It's like tuning's a complete meme, and it's much better now than it was 3 weeks ago. But like realistically, that's something that they've fixed in a pretty, like, I remember before Dragonflight it seemed really shit, and then like Dragonflight Season 1 was like fucking amazing, right? So like it can kind of change in a pretty short amount of time. The raid seems pretty done. You guys are saying the dungeons feel more finished recently.
Yeah, it's much better. Like, it's actually crazy how much work they've put into it over the past, was it like 2-3 weeks? I don't remember how long it's been, but I remember there was 1 week where it was complete Mickey Mouse. Like, shit was still extremely buggy. Boss mechanics were not even finished yet. And obviously, like, you know, tuning across the board has been terrible. But now I think it's, like, pretty safe to say that, like, it should be fine by the time it comes out. I mean, they still need work, obviously, but they have, like, sufficient time. At least I think they would. But yeah, like, I'm not too sure how I feel about their approach to the dungeons. Like, we talked about this on the podcast, where like we're going for a more methodical paced dungeon experience. It feels a lot more.
Wait, did they change did they change the stop thing?
Nope,
No,
that's
they
still
haven't
in.
changed that. Yeah.
Have you guys just gotten more used to that, or do you still think it's really, really bad?
Well, the thing is, like, you know, you're only really pulling like 1 or 2 packs at a time. And so you're not really pressured
Well, how does that feel?
The amount of stops.
It's very different,
I don't
but have you
know.
had
It's
enough
a different
time with it to
experience.
feel... Yeah, because I knew right away, as soon as people were saying they were doing that, regardless of it being a good or bad thing, people would hate it because it was different. But I wonder if, with an acclimation period, if you're like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. But it does sound kind of samey.
Yeah, that's by far the biggest problem, the sameness. Like, I think it's fine for the most part for dungeons to have this type of experience if you're just doing it a couple of times. And, like, I think it's going to be fun for sure if you're just playing for the first month. It's more so for...
Well, the M Plus isn't out for
the M Plus players.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every
Okay,
bit
well,
of,
I mean, you know,
every
first
bit
month
of
of
real
Action Plus.
content is going to be... Like, the expansion comes out in 3 weeks. Wow, crazy to say that. And then, I think it's exactly 21 days from now, right? The expansion comes out, and then we have... Or no, it's not exactly 21 days because it's Saturday.
19,
When's
right?
the early access? What day of the week is early access?
Thursday.
Oh, yeah, so 2 days. Yeah, okay. They have an entire month after that to realistically tune the game for what everyone... No one cares how powerful your character is doing, like, heroics. Well, I mean,
Well, but you also don't want to, like, you know, just, like, butcher a spec or completely overbuff something else in the middle of, like, that. Because, you know, that's, like, when people already have leveled up their characters and very ready to commit.
do you guys
Like,
know...
I think there's, like, a certain point where players commit to their characters.
Do you guys know what the most fucked spec is right now? Like, it's
Holy
kind of hard to be
Priest?
objective about this because everyone, like, cares a little bit more about their favorite specs. But I wonder if we had to pick, like, the top 3 DPS specs, the top 2 tank specs, and the top 2 healer specs of who is the most fucked, what that looks like. Like they just totally got the short end of the stick going into the expansion. Like, they're not ready or they feel bad.
I want to say Boomkin and, like, Healer Priest. And
Is this like tuning or
Yeah,
or gameplay?
probably both, right? Havoc Demon Hunter is also pretty fucked.
Yeah, because it was like gameplay. I think the rogues and the DHs definitely have a pretty solid claim.
Do you know which spec of rogue? Is there a spec of rogue that's like holy shit?
I feel like sub is the most like down bad, where their playstyle like got worse.
Yeah, I heard that they said that sub might be the one that's tuned to do well, but it's like the one where it's just absolutely horrible class.
Yeah, luckily this week nerfed sub and buffed outlaw and sin, so I don't know if that's changed that statement from being true, but it's at least moved it in a good direction.
It's so hard to tell because like Twitch chat is also so like if you were to actually be able to look at, you know how you can see a viewer list of your Twitch chat if you click on the viewer thing? It'd be if you could also just magically have that show the breakdown of who plays what class and what spec. You'd be surprised that the majority of your chat plays like very, very popular specs, right? Like there's like some that have huge representation and others that have. So when you mention this, there's just like they're saying rogue. I bet there's just more rogues in here than like.
No. You know what? I wish you could click on somebody's name and you could see how many summons they used in Elden Ring in their first playthrough and how many times they died to the boss. Because there's so many times there's some idiot just like talking crap because I'm dying to Margit, and I know if I could click on his name and see how many times that he took, he probably gave up after 30 minutes and just summoned. So like.
Yeah, or see if it rated out.
How did you proc Elden Ring? Did you have an Elden Ring? Have you been playing Elden Ring recently?
No, I just kind of like.
That one's been in the tank for a while.
Yeah, that was fucking.
Yeah,
that came out fucking so hot. Growl is no longer a man of the people, dude. Growl is a fucking legend at being a man of the people and then immediately not being a man of the people. He's like he just goes back and forth.
I mean, let's be honest. The people are like pretty easily swayed. Like I love Meg, but I mean, I was the man of the people, and then Meg labeled a class as Evonker, and then she just took the title.
Oh, that's true.
Like I feel like the people
that did happen.
I mean,
I feel like the people are quite easily swayed by things
that did happen. Yeah, but I mean, even then, if you would have ended up winning, you would have won because you just made everything a mage and then named it Mage. And it's like, I mean, the bit was fucking great. You executed the bit to perfection, but.
I mean, I don't know. I felt I won the draft.
Now you know how I feel, man. That's why I don't draft anymore because everyone's fucking against me, and it's not my fault.
Yeah. You guys are the villains now.
Yeah. Dude, people fucking love Megaset. By the way, it was a
Meg owns. I like Meg.
Yeah. Oh, not to imply that isn't deserved, but that was definitely a. I feel like there might have been as much bring Meg on more to the PoddyC questions as Growl when he was Wait, when did the bench happen? Like how long have you guys been planning the bench?
So whenever PoddyC started, that was partly like, again, I don't know if there's drama or anything, but Dratnos and Tettles like stopping doing
there is drama.
Titanforging.
Drama.
Right, yeah, we hate each other now. Yeah.
I've always been a big watcher of Titanforge, and that was actually my first appearance on Titanforge was actually when I started streaming, and it actually helped me get like a little bit of an audience going. So I've always been partial to Titanforge and Tettles and Dratnos and Trell. And so after that happened, I sort of joked with Tettles about, we should do a podcast, and we'll call it like, the PoddyC rejects or something. And he was like, that's funny, but also like I would want to do a podcast. That's cool. And then we sort of floated the idea for the last couple months, and then we just decided like, there's an expansion coming out. If we ever want to do a podcast, we should do one. And then we're like, all right, let's just record an episode. Like, who else should we get? Let's get Squishy. Like, he knows stuff. He'll balance us out a little bit. So it wasn't like super spontaneous. We were kind of like. It was kind of like in the slow cooker for a while, but we don't really have like any plans. We're just like, hey, we like yapping about WoW.
That's all it is, right? So that's good.
Yeah,
that's kind of you guys too, right?
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Well, also it helps too. So like, I mean, why I wanted to do a podcast is I fucking love I listen to an infinite amount of podcasts, and I've like seen that list grow over the years, and a lot of it is because of podcasts collaborating with each other. And I like hear a few people from a new podcast. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll listen to their shit, and then I'm like a permanent viewer. Podcast people listen to every podcast. Like you have like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. So like what we should do is like helping grow both of our audiences is just every time there's like something. Like, I'm talking not all the time. I'm talking like twice a year. Something major. You just fucking do a full fucking potty bench fucking slam bang. And you just have...
Potty bench?
That would be sick.
Yeah,
and the council. Yeah, we'll just all be on a
council, exactly. And then you release a joint video or something. And yeah, that would go fucking crazy. The potty bee.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked. I saw these comments like all over our videos, like, "Oh, Growl has his own podcast. He won't be on PoddyC anymore." Like, I don't know. I'm always around.
There's no we fucking hate each
No,
other
you
and
actually,
all this.
it really, so a bunch of really successful solo and duo podcasts that I know of very often have one person go on to the other for something and you cross promote, and it is extremely successful for everyone involved. You can only benefit off of each other, right? It's not like podcasts aren't like it's not live television. It's not something you have to choose between. It's something that most people listen to podcasts, listen to it on their way to work. They listen to it as they're gardening, as they're doing dishes, as they're doing something around their house, as they're running something. The psychos do that. Listening to podcasts when you're running is very psycho. But like you have an infinite amount of that during the week. Once you become podcast pilled, that just becomes what you do when you're doing other things. And it's not like you're competing. You always do both. So it's very good.
Big true.
That is kind of what I do, but I don't listen to podcasts. I just like watch streams, or I guess I listen to streams, which is kind of similar.
It could be a good bit though to play it like our podcasts hate each other. Like Dorki and Growl have a huge falling out. Dratnos and Tettles
Dude, yeah, me
fucking
and Tettles,
hate each
Dorki,
other.
Growl, exactly.
I'll just
if you think about,
randomly
like, this
slander
combo of
Squishy.
6 people, you got to just start a beef with him.
Yeah, like I fucking hate that guy.
Max just fucking hates Met Wowhead.
You got to just change your mind on that
Wowhead.
Wowhead, the Wowhead tweet.
Oh yeah,
get on the anti-Wowhead
literally
side of that
delete
one.
my just delete my tweet about the Wowhead thing and just agree with that degenerate classic player. Just be like, you know what, they are fucking talentless fucking freaks or whatever he said.
That tweet went hard. The guy who just like flamed Wowhead for transcribing an interview. I saw that and I just like I didn't even know what to say. I'm glad that somebody pointed it out, because I read that, I'm like, that is a little bit unhinged.
Well, I mean, it just depends on the way you say it, right? Because like I would have never responded to that because like I don't want to. Sometimes you can forget what it's like to be a bigger creator, right? Because like if you're a smaller creator and you get a Wowhead interview, as much as it's like, yeah, you're an advocate for the community. You know, it's not like something like Blizzard picked you, you know, it's a privilege, whatever, all that shit. You can still be like, bro, I'm trying to pop off and I'm trying to make it, and this is important to me, and I don't want to have that squandered by someone else. I wouldn't want someone stealing all my... Like, imagine you're really looking... This isn't really what happened, but imagine you're looking forward to your Blizzard interview. It's going to do super huge views, and then, like, Asmongold is literally co-streaming it, and everyone watches him, no one watches you, and then it's just, like, you feel like shit. That's, like, the worst-case scenario. So, I didn't want to feel like I was shitting on that idea, but, like, it's the way he said it. Like, if he said, you know what, man, I'm kind of bummed out, and I feel like a lot of people looked at this Wowhead article instead of maybe seeking out my interview. And I still think you could make the argument that, like, Wowhead helped promote it. If you look at the views, it has significantly more views than any other video. That could have been interview-related. It could have been Wowhead helping promote it. I would make the argument that Wowhead absolutely increased the reach of his video. But even if he was wrong about that, but just didn't sound like an absolute fucking loser when he said it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, yeah, exactly. Like it would have been one thing if he had, like, hey, you know, I really wish they would have credited me a little bit better. Like, you know, I felt like they didn't link it, or, you know, if he had some sort of complaint about it. But he literally was basically like, they shouldn't do this. Like, they're a leech for copying. You know what I mean? It's like, holy moly.
And then getting ahead of it, this will get hate, but only if you're a fuckwit.
That's a good move. That's I mean, you basically just had to concede that point before you replied.
I mean, I had to do it in my tweet.
Yeah.
3 tweets down, I said, by the way, as he said, I am a fuckwit though. So you have to.
True, he got you there.
Yeah, like I can't fucking combat that. So, you know, take this with a grain of salt. Yeah, JB had a nice little response to it too. What did he say? My number one piece of advice to growing WoW content creators is to piss off everyone at Wowhead. Identify any potential bridge with them, set it on fire, call them names too, let it rip. So true.
Right, which is what you're going to start doing now. We got to manufacture this beef.
Is Squishy Mr. Wowhead? I don't understand. Like, what's the hierarchy?
He's, guy.
Yeah,
he's not like the top of the chain,
he's
but he's like, he like does all the like affix, you know, looking at stuff and.
Yeah, I met Squishy at BlizzCon. He seemed like a swell,
he's
swell
a
guy.
really cool guy.
Wowhead covers a bunch of different stuff, right? Like they have like retail, SOD, all this stuff, right? So Squishy is the content manager for retail. So he's basically the guy in charge of the retail section. So he's not like Mr. John Wowhead, but he's like the Mr.
That's
John
pretty
Wowhead
close to Mr. John Wowhead.
Yeah, I mean he's
for us it is, because I don't give a fuck about classic.
Well, right, exactly. Like yeah.
Dude, I said that so angrily. I don't give a fuck about Classic. I mean, it's so true.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Dude, speaking of that...
Dude, Growl's going back to Classic.
Ooh.
Yeah, speaking of you, Growl, Classic pilled man, what are they doing after Season of Discovery? What is the future of Classic outside of just running it down the expansions they're already doing?
It's gonna be Classic Plus.
Yeah,
but
so
what does
there's a
that
bunch
mean?
of different copes. There's a bunch of different copes. So speaking, like one of the big things that I think a lot of Classic people like, and a lot of people like in general, like especially if you look at the speed running like type of people, they just want fresh Classic over and over again. Like they just want a fresh server. Everyone's level 1. Like they grind up. Oh, this time I'm gonna get Black Lotus, and I'm gonna be in a casual guild, or I'm gonna try and get rank 1. Like there's a huge chunk of people that play Classic that just want to play fresh Classic over and over, and they're not really entirely served. They're basically having to do like weird different formats. Like, for example, all those people played hardcore, even if they didn't want to play hardcore. All those people are playing SOD, even though they would rather just play, like, regular, WoW. So I think if Blizzard finds a way to, like, do a fresh, like, just one fresh Classic server every X amount of time that, like, speed runs through all the phases, I think that would be really cool. I sort of think with SOD that they're gonna... I don't know. I think they have this idea that SOD is like Classic Plus, and maybe it'll just like exist, but I don't know. Like maybe they keep making content for it. Like I really have no idea what their plans are, but I don't know how much. I feel like SOD really hasn't been that well received after the third.
Oh, it fell off hard. It fell off insanely hard. It was
like, I would be surprised if they keep devoting a ton of resources to it, or like try and package it or something.
Why did the first one pop off so hard and then the other ones didn't? Was it too similar?
Novelty.
The novelty.
I'm telling you, fresh is like a huge part of it, right? So the fact that it's a fresh server, everybody's level 1, everyone has to find a way to make gold, right? But the thing is, as soon as it's phase 1 to phase 2, now there were problems with phase 2 and phase 3, but like as soon as you got deep farm into phase 1, everybody has all these max level characters, everybody has all this gold, like people have guilds, and so like it's a lot less appealing for somebody to go to phase 2 than it is for a fresh, right? Think of the same way as like how you would compare season 1 of Dragonflight to season 2. Like season 1 was better, but also like so many people are just like, fresh expansion, I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna try it. But like how many people are really gonna be like, oh, I didn't try season 1 of Dragonflight, let's try season 2? Like I think, and there's like tons of other issues. Like people are talking about 20-man, people are talking about GDKPs, like, but I think the big thing is just people like fresh, and it not like, I think fresh is like the big thing that we need to hammer over the head of Blizzard when it comes to Classic, because like these are just people that like playing Classic WoW, and they just want fresh servers, and they want to like start a new guy and do their journey or
what
whatever.
did old school RuneScape do? Are you guys RuneScapers?
They basically added new stuff to Classic.
So they basically just took the old school RuneScape thing, because they I believe that's the closest thing to WoW. Like they have old school RuneScape, and then like RuneScape kept creating content. So like they came out with old school RuneScape, and then they just kept creating content within the construct of what old RuneScape used to be.
So the big thing about RuneScape, I'm not a RuneScape expert, but I was playing Classic with some people and they explained it to me. Basically, a big part of Classic or OSRS or whatever is you have to vote on the content as a player base. So let's say, for example, Blizzard comes out with Season of Discovery Season 3, right? And you're like, these are bad. The community can downvote a patch and the developers just have to go, nope. All right, we'll go back to the drawing board. So that's the biggest thing when it comes to OSRS, is the player base has to live with their own choices, right? Like they're basically like, we decide if this can be in the game or this cannot be.
I feel like that's happening. I feel like that's happening in WoW this season.
Almost, yeah. It's like, the affix thing came out, and
definitely
then
because
like, oh, we like affixes, and everyone was like, oh,
yeah, we're
affixes,
keeping bolstering,
we're
keeping sanguine, and these are the Mythic Plus changes we weren't even going to do before, but now we did them because you guys said we wanted them. 1 week later, everyone was mad about that, and they're like, all right, you guys don't want affixes, fuck it. You guys don't get affixes. I kind of am interested to see how that. I mean, everyone's really interested to see how that plays out.
I wish we could just like see a poll. Like I don't care about if they're gonna actually make the changes or not, but like if they made like a poll just saying like, should AUG be deleted from the game? I'm very curious to see what the poll would look like, because part of me feels like there's gonna be a lot of people that would say no, it shouldn't be. And that would probably be like a huge shock to.
I mean,
like our
if you were gonna do it
like,
in,
yes, it should be gone.
Yeah, if you were gonna do it in one of our streams or on one of our Twitter feeds or something like that, where that's like a very specific audience, the answer would be overwhelmingly. I mean, I'll do it in my stream right now. Fuck it. Let's see.
Fuck it. All right, I'll do it.
All right, mole people to arms.
Yep, mole people rise up.
Rise up, mole people.
All right, I just did a poll, but I imagine it'll probably trend towards yes. But if you were to do it on like the official Warcraft account, which is the most dystopian thing ever, that they would actually tweet that. But like if that official account tweeted it, I'm fairly certain it would be. But I also could be wrong. Again, most of the speculating we do is like exactly that, right? You're speculating how a big group of people feels. So
there's actually
there are a lot more no's than
I mean, even in my chat, it's like 50-50. Little bit.
There's a big subsection of people that like think a lot differently from the competitive side. Like one thing I thought was very interesting was in terms of the healer changes or the tank changes rather, and tanks needing more healing. I would say tanks generally like don't like it because they want to be immortal. Healers are kind of like, at least in my chat and my sort of circle, like a little bit mixed. But like, some healers like the support stuff and doing DPS. Some healers don't like spamming tanks. Some healers do. On YouTube, it was almost unanimously healers were like, tanks are stupid. Everyone on YouTube.
I've noticed that actually.
Did
like,
you see
in
that?
the YouTube space. Well, I mean, not just yours, but like mine's too, and like like all these other discussions. Like anytime I see this being brought up, what I've noticed with like the YouTube crowd is they are a lot more casual than the YouTube,
1,000%. Yes.
These are the types of players that want kata dungeons back, where like you go slow in the dungeon. It's like a progression type of dungeon. You're CCing mobs. You're trying to like figure out how to like strategize to continue the dungeon. Whereas like Twitch types of dungeon players are the ones who want speedrunning, right? Like they want to pull big. They want more like Diablo type of gameplay. Yeah. And they want tanks to be strong. Whereas like they are very the opposite. Like the YouTube crowd is a lot more casual or like more classic friendly. Like they want the older WoW back, not whatever we have now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even, it's kind of surprising. Like, I also feel like it's going to trend more towards yes in both Dorki and Growl's chat, probably, because you guys are more Mythic Plus focused. And I know that, and we've talked about this recently, where I feel like if you were to have an alternate reality, okay? Aug is still a support class. It just hasn't been meta in Mythic Plus for a year. And I think the vote would be completely different, which means that part of that vote is not voting for the systematic design of Aug or support classes existing, whatever. It's part of it is just the blood that exists for every spec that people want if you've been good for too long. Which makes sense. I mean, classes being good for that long, releasing a support class and have it being BIS for the entirety of the time it's existed is going to be, I mean, it's kind of objectively bad, right? Like that's not good.
But for most players, that shit doesn't matter.
This comment I literally have, I just got this comment on my YouTube. He either got a upvote or upvoted himself. Dude, having self-sufficient tanks is the ultimate garbage for healers. Dragonflight was the worst healing meta I've ever played. If the tank doesn't need healing, your job is either frantically absurd healing the DPS or doing nothing.
Dude, Dratnos isn't live. Some of my chat fucking baited me.
What'd they say?
They said Dratnos chat is all no's. And so I went to Dratnos chat to see the vote, and it's just not there.
Yeah, I haven't been live in months.
Wait, have you not? Let's see. Wrong. 25 days ago. Wrong. Oh,
25?
Oh, 13.
Yeah,
I was looking at featured clips. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
God, fucking featured clips.
Do you guys do featured clips? I'm pretty sure that is good.
What?
You gotta make Fronk do them for you. Feature some clips.
Wait, can Fronk do that for me?
Dude, you know what I saw Fronk did? He almost called him Kronk. He, like, yesterday I went over that, like, Echo tweet and how they did the, like, they didn't do the macro private order thing. They had some crazy shit. And then Fronk decided to release that as a YouTube clip. I feel like that is going to fucking that is going to cause some fucking problems. So Fronk seeks chaos.
We need some drama to start building up now. It's like a month and a half till the race or whatever. We got to start getting the hate going.
Oh yeah, me personally, I love when there's just hate flying in every direction, and their main channel receives it, but I just as a human get all the other ones. It's very good.
Yeah.
People who hate on AUG are people who don't play them. It's the same people who complain about nerfing classes they don't play.
Well, it's because, you know, the AUGs are ones who took our jobs. That's how a lot of the DPS
True.
players see
It's
it.
like AI.
Like, I'm actually curious how many tanks and healers hate AUG compared to DPS. Because I think it's, like, largely DPS players that are not happy with the whole situation.
I don't even know if they took your jobs, because I think AUG, like, especially in lower level keys, isn't even that good. People, I think... Was it PoddyC? Somewhere I listened to last
yes. I said that, yeah.
And then people in the comments were not happy about that, by the way.
Yeah, so to be clear, I've only pugged like 5 or something keys this season on my Voker, so it's not a strong sample size, but it definitely both felt like it was easier to get invited and easier to key on dev. But maybe that's just like if you're playing with random people, buffing them, auging them is like bad, but if random augs are buffing you, that's good. I don't know.
Well, you just said that, like, if you're doing a lower level key, it's not like they're just sitting around waiting for an aug. Like, they almost prefer that you play Devastation. And then someone in the chat was like, Dratnos is so insanely wrong about that. But it might have been a one guy.
Yeah, I mean, also, just again, I have a small sample size, so decent chance that I just ran into, like, a few keys where that was true.
I was a little bit surprised by that, but I also, I guess, I don't know. The thing is, like, if people's biggest qualm is that everyone in low-level groups sucks, like, you know, surprise Pikachu face, like, breaking news. People that are doing +3s aren't smart. Like, you can't really be upset at AUG for that. Like, they're always just going to make dumb decisions about who they invite. Like, if they delete AUG, it's not like all of a sudden all of the +3 players are just going to be,
There
like,
have been multiple expansions with AUGs. There's been multiple expansions with, like, what AUG has been, where they have been good for this long and always invited to groups and stuff. I mean, even Mage in this expansion almost, right? That's kind of existed for...
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're like, oh, everyone in high keys play Mage, and then you're in a +3, like, congrats, now you have Jangvi in your group. Like,
God, Mage has had people in their feelings for so long, because not only have they been so good this expansion, but they have also gotten, like, I think by far the most, like, attention. Attention doesn't always mean, like, good, right? Like, I remember this is in the Dragonflight beta, and, like, one class was so upset that they only got like 1 post, but that 1 post was super good. And then like this other class had gotten like 8 weeks of post, but all those posts ended up with like them in a worse spot than the person who got 1. So like, I don't know exactly. Like I know recently they made a really bad mage change. I think they revert, which by the way, can we talk about how good mages have it? This is what I believe happened. Arcane had an unintended interaction of double dipping with something like nether precision stacks or whatever the fuck it's called. And it's a literal bug that was fun to play. And then I think I might be fucking dreaming or something, but I read a blue post where they're like, hey, Arcane Mages, we heard your feedback that this bug we fixed actually was more fun when it was a bug.
What the fuck, man?
So we're actually reverting the bug fix and we're going to let you play with the
That's
bug
crazy.
version. That wouldn't happen.
way.
That I swear to fucking God, I'm not making this up.
There's no way.
Maybe
No, that is
They just
true.
said that, yeah,
That's
it was
true
a blue
news,
post.
maybe I'm
I
making
think
this
they're
up.
still planning on
It's
fixing
insane.
it later once they come up with a new fun way to play, but it's like,
Yeah, but
I feel like that's like an 11.1 or
that doesn't
11.2
happen
thing
to
now.
anyone else.
Yeah.
Yep, that is mage privilege.
That
Peak
could
mage
never
privilege.
happen to someone that isn't a
Well,
mage.
there was Destrolock where it's like, oh, Inferno is making more soul shards than
Oh, I mean,
it
well,
should.
that directly nerfs Destro, so it's like, you know.
Yeah, well, Nether Precision nerfed
Yeah, it fixes their...
Arcane.
It didn't? I thought it like actually made Arcane better.
That bug fix? I thought it was, I mean, I guess it's not. It mostly was
Well, reverting
playstyle.
it made it better or whatever.
Yeah.
But I
that's what
mean, like, you look at like Boomkins, right? Because like Boomkins right now, they have to Starfire permanently, even in single target, and that is like peak dog shit.
I'm also
But there's been like 0 talks about that.
I'm also saying something. And I understand I'm doing something very dangerous here, but a big reason this mage thing was changed was because the forums absolutely exploded because of how mad people were about the change. Probably for good reason. I don't play mage, but the reality is, with how community managers work, if you guys do make enough of a stink about something, Blizzard sees that a lot and are kind of forced to change it. So at least there's a lot of history showing that. Like Enhanced Shamans recently definitely did that. They were absolutely not going to get more changes, and then only did they literally said we are not touching Enhance until the first patch of the expansion, and then Enhance were like fuck you, and then they're like, okay, fuck it, we'll do it, right? Like
Right.
if you guys aren't getting changes, and God help me, I can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe it's possible you aren't loud enough. Well, now it might be too late, to be fair.
Was that a PoddyC Patreon question?
What?
It was about it was like a super based question. It was basically like is becoming more obvious that Blizzard is just listening to people that are crying, and like, is that even a good thing? And possibly all of the people crying that are getting things changed are making games worse. And I've actually believed that for a really long time. Not to date myself, but like when Reddit was really popular and Dota 2 was like blowing up, I remember noticing a distinct trend where it was like whatever was the top voted thing that week on the Dota 2 subreddit like got fixed or nerfed or whatever in the next patch. And I'm just like, I don't really like how like the random public sentiment of people crying is just gonna make like shape the game now. And I feel like,
well, I mean, but that's what OSRS is doing, and it's been successful for them. Because I mean,
that's like a vote rather than like a loudness.
Well, but you're kind of
forums.
voting with your complaints, right?
Yeah,
sort of.
I mean,
yeah,
like,
I guess
it's being updated on Reddit and
right.
I
guess
like,
maybe that's my skewed version of like not everyone. You know what I mean? Like everybody got to vote for it, but it's only that subsection of people who like are on Reddit or whatever. I don't know. I feel like that's like a subsection of people, but you are right that like I guess it's sort of the same thing as people voting.
Yeah, just like do we want to incentivize people to be like always at 100% volume because you know that's the most effective way to get your change done?
Yeah. I feel like that's like such a bad precedent. What did you get? What did you call it, Dratnos? You called it like being a boomkin or whatever. It was like, imagine if everybody is just a boomkin, where you go on Twitter and it's just everybody max volume crying about how bad your class is in the hopes that it gets nerfed.
Well, aren't Moonkins like? I feel like Moonkins
are just Augs now.
Moonkins definitely have like that stigma attached, but I feel like Moonkins haven't been getting the attention. Right?
They haven't. No.
They got like a post a week or two ago that fixed a lot of it, right? Still not the Starfire single target thing, right? But it's like a lot less bad than it was before.
I mean, they basically just buffed the class, but they didn't really like,
Yeah, they didn't buff it in the right ways to make the playstyle good.
Yeah.
At least they buffed the tier set, so it's like worth equipping now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue is like, well, maybe it's not an issue, but Mages, they have like a pretty large community, and they're extremely vocal because they have like that amount of.
We've talked about this before. I don't know if you guys have ever I remember there was one day where they made a bunch of changes to a bunch of classes, and I went and just looked at the WoW base WoW forums for feedback, which is really stupid. You should not do that most of the time. But I looked at like a lot of different classes, and like if you looked at just any X class, it was just like, these changes are bad, please fucking fix them. And someone's like, why did you even type this? And he's like, I'm just giving my feedback. That's just like most classes. They're just like, fuck this, fuck. And then you go to the Mage section, and it's like paragraph after MLA format paragraph after just like person after person, detailed, straight to the point, very concise, well written feedback, but in large numbers. And it's like, I wonder if that also is just mages are just like smarter than everybody else or something, because like
there's just more of them. That's why. I mean, they've had a community for such a long time.
There's definitely some amount of feedback loops, right, where it's like you see that your feedback is being received well, so you put more effort into your feedback. Versus, like,
that's actually
like being ignored.
That's actually a
self-fulfilling thing. Yeah.
Like it's hard to say exactly where that started, because I think it is definitely like on both the community and Blizzard for just treating mages really
Bro, you
well.
should read Havoc responses when there's like a change. It feels like you're in a movie. It's a different world.
That reminds me of when I was talking to I guess I can name him because it was back then, Noosh, the M+ dev guy. He would always say that. We would have these conversations. He'd be like, "You're just spewing like nonsense. You're like not putting effort into this feedback. Like, what am I supposed to do with this?" I'm like, "I don't know. It feels like you guys don't listen to me anyway. So I'm not gonna write this like giant paragraph of stuff when I feel like I'm not even being listened to. Like, this is half just
so
me
true.
shouting into the abyss."
But if they did listen every time that you posted, you'd like try extra hard because you knew it all mattered.
Well, it's hard because it's like there are way other factors, right? Like, it's not necessarily his fault or their fault for listening, but yeah, I mean, it's exactly right. Like, if I felt like I could have a massive impact in like getting things changed, I would treat it like a fucking job, right? Like, because I really want this game to be good, and it literally is my job the game being good, right? So like I would absolutely like do way more if I felt like it was worth it. But when it's like, you know, I make a list of 12 things and like one of them sort of gets changed and there's 11 other things and it's like, well, what do I do? Do I just submit the same list of 11 things again? Like, I don't know. And so it just ends up being me shouting into the abyss with nonsense feedback, and they're like, oh, this cow with a waffle is a fucking idiot. And then yeah, it's definitely a cyclical loop for sure.
Yeah, someone said Windwalkers were writing tomes of excellent feedback in Shadowlands beta and got one good blue post, which wasn't even addressing anything posted. Yeah, but like it's not in numbers. It's good feedback and in numbers. Also, we're all making this up. But like monks are a historically low played spec. Even when you see them played at high level, like they're often good in high level. Like all three specs actually, depending on the season, they're still like unbelievably low played.
There's definitely a bias towards specs that are played more often.
Do you think there's like a problem with not just specs that are played more often, but also like classes that have like specs that people interchange? Like I guess like you look at monk, right? Like I feel like there's not that many people that play all of the monk specs, right? Like I feel like there's 3 very different communities there of people, whereas
Definitely.
like, you know, mage is just like, I feel like a large majority of mages just mostly like maybe some specialized or whatever, but you know, like a mage plays all 3 of the specs and it's like 3 times as big, whereas like, you know, you're very, very divided. But like from a dev point of view, maybe like one person is doing like Mistweaver and Windwalker and Brewmaster, and it's like, how the heck does one person have like be in touch with all 3 of those communities?
Oh, that's actually kind of, I mean, that's kind of a good point, but I think Paladins have like a ton of people that play it, but that's like, I mean, I just think that's just if you're going to play an MMO and you have a bunch of classes to pick from, just so many more people are going to pick Paladin than Monk, regardless of anything else, just based off of like theme fantasy, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So I guess your theory is that classes that have 3 or 2 of the same role are more likely to like get more feedback because there's more people that are aware of all of them. I think that's like kind of like, Hunter's kind of weird. I feel like there's a lot of BM/MM players, and Survival's still like the
that's true
forgotten child.
They're very different.
Dude, something about BM Hunter is just crazy. Like it just attracts so many players.
Get a pet, man. Pet's huge.
Speaking of feedback, man, I swear to God, the raid buff issue has gone really out of hand in M+. You guys want to take a wild shot at what the M+ meta is looking like again?
I have no clue, so let me actually guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, actually no idea.
Yep.
Okay, wait, fuck. Let me look at... I gotta look at, like, all the lists of classes again.
Here's the YouTube video. Max predicts Mythic Plus meta guaranteed, and then a tier list background.
I don't think Priest, unless it's DPS Priest, because, like, Healer Priest seems really bad, and, like, Fort's always been super solid. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say DPS Priest, knowing nothing, just because Fort is so important in staying alive, and there's 3 deaths now. Okay. I'm going to say Aug, just because it got nerfed, but I don't know. They have a cheat death, and they make your tank and healer stronger, which means there's 1 more DPS, which, I mean, that kind of makes me want to say Mage, because that's how it's been for this expansion. But I know DK is, like, really good, but DK doesn't have a raid buff, and you just talked about raid buff, so I'm going to stick with the exact same comp in Mythic Plus, which is also more chaotic. Mage, Evoker, and Priest, and then the healer and tank would be Mark of the Wild. I don't know if Guardian or Resto Druid's better right now. Let's just say Resto Druid, and I mean, Chaos Brand sounds good, but they have a lot of their utility nerf, but it's still strong. I don't know how good they are. Blood DK, people said, is like really strong right now. Okay, I want to say DH, but that's literally the same comp. I'm just going to go with DK or Warrior instead. How wrong am
I? You were almost on point. So it is Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter is so fucking OP right now.
Oh, shit.
And, yeah, everything else is right.
So it's the same comp.
Well, Warlock is better. So, no, I mean,
Warlock's better than Priest
anymore. Yeah, Priest is dog shit. Warlock is, like, beyond giga broken. But the fact that this is, like, the meta where we pretty much playing the exact same shit except be swapping out the Priest for a Warlock now is, like, it's so bad. And it's specifically because of, like, you know, like it's like what you've been saying, right? Like, Chaos Brand is OP. Well, not only is Chaos Brand good, but, like, Demon Hunter is just solid, right? Like, I wouldn't say Demon Hunter is anywhere near as good as it was before, but it's good enough. And that Chaos Brand just brings infinite fucking damage. Like, it's ridiculous how much damage it brings.
How much far behind do you think, like, a melee comp would be? Like, I feel like if you ran, like, DK, like Frosty K and Hand Shaman, and just like I'm talking like zero caster, like a fuck caster comp, how much worse would that be?
Yeah.
Is it just because you're missing
I
Aug?
mean, it'd be playable, but like, so for one, you don't have Arcane Intellect buffing both the Aug and the healer.
Yeah, it's stupid.
All you're getting is like fucking like Battle Shout, right? Like Battle Shout's like half as
How
good
much do you
as
think raid
Arcane
buffs
Intellect
matter for that comp? So like Warlock, it doesn't really matter. Hellstones are actually low-key really nice in dungeons, but
I mean, Warlock, it's really. Oh, you mean like instead of
Hellstones
Warlock?
are so much better than they were in Dragonflight 4 as well, right? Like, they're so much better now because you're dying slower.
I mean, gateways are always like you can find nifty little gateways that help you, but those are usually quality of life, not enabling type things. But Hellstones are quite good because you mentioned before you said this, Dorky. You said like speaking of raid buffs, the Mythic Plus meta thing again. I'm trying to think of like how that matters, and it's like Arcane Intellect makes sense, Chaos Brand makes sense, but like I don't really see the value in
The way I see it
market.
is Mage only needs to be 90% as good as another spec, because you know, like by having Arcane Intellect, regardless of your tuning, like unless they tune Mage to be complete dog shit, right? Which will realistically never happen. Like it's not gonna be Mage is not gonna be like 80% as good as another DPS spec. That'd be crazy, right?
What about Ellie?
Especially when there's 3 of them.
Is Ellie good?
I don't know. People have been saying Ellie is dog shit now. I mean, it was good before. Like, it was taking the Destro lock spot. Like, you would have just played the same comp with Ellie instead of a Destro.
I think
but-
Ellie will always be a little bit better than it seems relative to other classes, because there are less people that are like really sick at Ellie and play it and constantly think about it than things like Warlock, Mage, and Priest, just due to like normal balance and things like that. It's just not a popular ult to have, so you have less owners on it. Well, you may have played with like one owner, but like let's just say if everyone was just as well versed in Ellie as they are in Mage and Warlock, you would see a more accurate representation, but that's definitely not true of like a lot of the better players.
I do feel like with Ellie specifically, it does have a more dedicated try-hard group. Like, I know there are some...
there are
Ellie
definitely
players that
some,
just,
but
like,
it's nowhere near as many as Mage and Lock, right?
yeah,
Nowhere close. Yeah.
Well,
You can always
Actually,
it's
I'm
the
going
same
about
thing when
Lock
you're
or
looking
Mage
at
for
like raid tuning. Like when you look at if you look at tuning, you know how there's like you can just like look at a Warcraft logs thing on like a single target boss and it just has like the bars that go all the way down. Like the bars at the bottom are never actually that far down. It's because the sample size and the people playing them are going to be playing the other spec that's better,
Yeah.
or they're going to be playing the other class that's better. The better players are almost always going to do that. Like, are there specialists that always play one spec? Yes, but there's definitely a like group of FODM players that are really, really fucking good that always play the best classes. And like, if that class just isn't FODM for like 2 or 3 years, that person's not going to be as good at it yet, or they're just not going to have it in their repertoire. So you're going to see less relative performance always. It's not huge, but it's definitely a thing.
yeah. I mean, I've brought that up many times, especially when people talk about tanks. Because there's always people who are like, oh, well, look at how Blood Decay is performing, right? You know, like say, you know, in the last season, people would be bringing up how Blood Decay is currently highest one is ranked like 106 or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take into account that Blood Decay is not playing with the best group. That Blood Decay is probably not the best Blood Decay out there, even though in terms of ranking, that person is the best Blood Decay. Like, I'm sure if Echo was playing with a Blood Decay for whatever the fuck reason, they would probably easily smash
definitely. They'd be
whatever
number one.
score. Yeah, they'd be like, you know, maybe like rank 20, right? Like instead of rank 106. Or they like maybe they'll be even better. Maybe they'll be like rank 5 with a Blood Decay. It just doesn't really go to show how good the spec actually is or how capable it is.
Yeah, something I'm interested in too is like also Ellie should be good with like melee comps too. Like if you want not full melee but you want some melee, like if you had 2 really meta melee at any point in the expansion, like having Wind Fury for those 2. There's a couple of really good melee classes right now that are Wind Fury's fucking insane for, and it's like brainless to do. Not to mention, I don't know how powerful the mastery. How powerful is the mastery thing from Sky Fury? Like not including the melee thing. Do you guys have, even if you're making it up, like do you have a general idea of the power level of that?
Wait, of what?
Of the
2% mastery, which is not actually 2%. 2% mastery points from that. Yeah.
I actually have no idea.
How does it
but I
work?
know
Is it-
the
is
attack
it-
speed stuff
is
Yeah,
it-
how does that work?
It's somewhat it's normalized, so it's not like I initially thought, where it would be better for specs that get more percent per point of mastery. It is normalized for that.
So
it says 2%,
so you get,
but it's not actually that.
Yeah,
So
the
it just
2%
gives-
is
it
lying
basically
to you.
just gives every class a certain amount of mastery based off
Yeah,
of how good mastery
it gives
is
you
for that class.
effectively it's normalized, but it doesn't go into the diminishing return like if it gave you flat rating.
I need to see like a table of different classes to understand.
Yeah, so imagine like it gives 2% to the lowest possible class, and then every class has some sort of multiplier depending on how effective mastery is.
Yeah, it's either like that or it's less than 2% for the like ones that get the fewest.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
I'm actually not sure. So it actually adds to the percentage of your mastery, not to like it gives you 2% more of the mastery stat you have, right?
It's not like if you have more mastery, it does more for you. No.
Yeah, that's super confusing because the mastery coefficient is different for everyone. There are classes with hundreds of percents of mastery, and there are classes with 10%, right? Like that.
Right, and it's my initial read on that is like, oh wow, 2% is going to be sick for like Resurgent or whatever, who gets really small amounts,
right?
Like 1% mastery for them is a lot, but it's not like that. It's normalized.
That's actually super confusing to figure out the power of that.
Oh, so it can even go less than 2% for classes.
I'm not sure. Again, I actually don't know whether that's true. Always goes less or what for in that case. I just know that it is normalized, so that it's
actually makes sense actually because 2% mastery for Resurgent is actually like that's a ton of stats. Yeah. I never even thought about that. Like you'll pilot and you'll get to like 20%. So if that was like a 10% mastery increase just for having a shaman, that would be insane.
So that's even better. So people don't even know how good the shaman thing is for the group. It'll be something that someone figures out later. Sounds good.
There's just no way to know. It can't be done.
Because we don't need to figure that out for raid, because I think the answer is just like you just end up bringing one.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's enough. Yeah,
it's enough.
Yeah, it's a raid buff, so you bring it. I mean, the attack speed portion alone is massive. It's literally just win fury for your entire raid.
Oh yeah, and that's way better than you think, because like normal raid comps have definitely more than 4 people who are auto attacking, and even when you're getting it on like 4 tanks and healers, like that's still value. Like that is worth. It's more than a 1 or 2% increase for the shaman if you were to apply the damage to them. So, like,
like that's the thing with raid buffs. You need so little for it to be.
Yep, look at the hunter one.
Fill of a diversity thing.
The hunter one's kind of objectively the most weak. Like it. There's a scenario where it's actually irrelevant. Like Denathris, I think, is the only fight in the last couple years, like relevant fight, where it would have done nothing. Like P1 was easy and it didn't translate the damage to the end of the boss. But I still think you'd bring a hunter. You would have brought a hunter not regardless of their tuning, but like within normal margins of tuning to every other boss because of their raid buff. And it is like probably 20% as good as some of them, if not worse. So is that the question? I actually have that in my interview coming up. That's one of my questions is what is the bar for, because raid buffs don't just affect raid, like the bar for raid buffs should be right as close to it gets you in the raid, and then ideally not any more powerful than that. And basically the question is, are they happy with the power level of the different raid buffs, because you can choose a significantly less amount. There's more raid buffs than you can choose in Mythic Plus, and some are much better than others, and that's the genesis of the question.
Yeah, the hunter's mark line, I call it.
That would be a good line. Speaking of interview, who's doing the M+1?
I don't know anything. I know that I'm doing one, but I don't know. I have some Mythic Plus questions in there, but I don't know if they're doing a like Mythic Plus specific focus one. You should reach out. Reach out to the Lugia man and be like, hey, get me in there.
Oh shit, is it that easy? Hold on, let me go slide in.
I mean, I didn't reach out to them, but I'm sure that's how most things happen. I haven't done one in a long time.
Wait, but it's gonna be awkward if he says no.
No, it's not. That's his job to say yes or no to stuff like that. Who's it gonna be awkward for? You? Do you not handle rejection well?
That's a good question.
Are you just gonna be like, I fucking hate this guy?
Well, like Lugia's such a nice guy, right? Like, he's always helped me out with a bunch of stuff, and it's like.
Let's be honest, nobody ever tells Dorki no.
Interview.
Yeah, he's like rejection.
Right, dude, someone needs to study this.
Dude, double cat interview. Double cat M+ interview.
That would
be so sick. That would go so hard. Type 1 in the chat. Just type it.
They're going to type a lot of ones.
Just type it.
Dude, okay, I will say it needs to be talked about. Tanks in WoW are so used to never hearing no in Mythic Plus because they're like the person who the group revolves around. So they do need to be knocked down a few pegs potentially. You need to. It'll help them. It'll help their mental.
Fucking mages.
You guys are getting built bad. Everyone's giving you what you want. You're like that child actor star that everyone just says yes to their whole life, and then they just end up super fucked up. That's you.
I'm not super fucked up, okay? Dude, I'm telling you, mages say no all the time.
Yeah,
I tried getting an
mages
NA
have
mage.
all the power now.
Yeah, they have all the
Because mage is also a class where, just for whatever reason more than other specs, there's just a gap, man. Like, the difference in your mage, especially with Aug, the difference in your mage matters even more, right? Because it's amplified. Even it's like technically the individual skill level difference between in this expansion, your priest and mage matters more than it does in a normal expansion because their damage is being amplified by so much. Are Augs still the like bane of people's existence as far as like playing certain key levels? Like I remember when I was doing, I did all the keys on 28 in season 3, and I remember if you queued with an Aug, they were either like perfect, they like waited to the exact moment you used your cooldowns to Breath of Eons, or like they actually hit it on cooldown as mobs were dying and never ever considered anyone else for their buttons, and they just slammed it on CD. Is it still like that? It's been a year, so I imagine people are better at it. Maybe you guys don't know. You got the good ones. You guys have figured out who the good dragons are.
Oh, sorry.
I played on that season.
I was shooting my shot.
Wait, you're shooting your shot to the double cat interview?
I've shot my shot. Wait, what were you asking about?
Are Augs high variance in terms of how good they are when you queue up with a new one?
People just have to be better at it now. It's a new class. It's a new role. Like, the idea of you being a support class, but then not using your cooldowns, which buff everyone else when other people are using their cooldowns, that's just like a classic. No one has any idea what the fuck's going on. Like, if you're playing Aug a year later, the community has to be better at stuff like that.
Okay, so Pete said Augs are either your best friend and your key to IO score, or they're wearing Sark Cloak.
There's no fucking way Augs wear the Sark Cloak. That would be crazy. I mean,
it's my Biss on Wowhead.
Yeah, I mean, it is Biss on Wowhead.
Dude, no way someone's
yeah, this is good. We can start the
irresponsible.
beef with Wowhead, actually. Yeah,
Oh, this is perfect. Wowhead guide writers putting the
perfect.
Sark Cloak in their Biss list. This is a perfect conversation. Let's check. Let's see.
And this all happened under Squishy's watch as well.
Yes.
Yep.
He is the lead content. All right, here we
Like
go.
here.
Oh, wait, it doesn't say it. It doesn't say it. Overall Augmentation Evoker best in slot.
Okay.
The Evoker one has a high mastery cloak, not the... Wait.
They hid the evidence. They hid the evidence.
Yeah, it could be...
Open your eyes, sheeple.
Bot. Wait.
Wait, I'm scrolling. Oh, wait, they do have a section about the Sarkareth cloak. Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. In bold captions, it is not recommended to use this cloak in Mythic Plus or... Who wrote this? This is fucking... They either hid the evidence or they're a genius. Jericho. Genius. What about Devastation? You guys ever written a guide before, by the way?
Oh, dude. You know, back in Team Solo Mid, this is like fucking way back in the early days of League of Legends, I wrote a couple of guides. Those guides were insane too, by the way. They had like millions of views.
Millions?
They were like even translated in Korean and Chinese. Yeah.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah, I had some like massive guides.
This is
like,
amazing.
back in 2012.
All right, Sarkareth. Devastation does have the Sark cloak. Embarrassing. And they
That's
don't.
disgusting.
I don't even think I see a section that even like talks about it. Preheat? Oh, dude, he used to raid in our guild, bro. That's making me mad.
Yeah.
How the mighty have fallen.
Fucking preheat, man. This
Come
goddamn
on.
DPS ape.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
How do you guys feel about legendaries, by the way? Should they...
I hope that I don't get one. Like, if you tell me there's going to be a legendary next patch, my fingers are crossed that it's for, like, healers or something, Minkins.
Yeah, it's a bad spot. To be fair, though, I think the only thing that makes sense to me is that they don't make legendaries, because I do not think that they can make one that isn't deeply problematic and very cool, or just completely not cool and just annoying. Like it can't be done. To make it legendaries cool, it would have to be super hard to obtain and super powerful. That's the only way you'd loot it and remember it. But that would fuck all balance up in the game. Your class would feel like shit until you get it. And not to mention the acquisition system they've used recently is absolutely terrible.
I think they just need to not balance around it. Just like let it rip, man. Like if someone
just let classes be OP with it. Yeah, like if someone
just manages to get it.
Like there will be 10 of these legendaries that spawn in the season because of how rare it is in all of NA. And then yeah, maybe that person, one of them goes on a good player, and that key group is one key level higher than everyone else, but at least the legendary was sick and everyone wanted it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I have a feeling that those legendaries will find themselves in the hands of the top players by some means.
A person's IP address is going to mysteriously change after they lead a legendary like that.
I mean, that's the only way they could make it truly legend. It sounds corny, but like truly legendary. Like
it just doesn't work.
The legendary, it doesn't work. It's like the current legendaries are not legendary. They're items that are usually like flawed in a lot of ways, either acquisition or like the overall power level of them. They're not cool. Like no one's gonna remember this two-hander legendary for this expansion. No one's gonna remember the evoker legendary. It's just like any other like system that you get.
I think Fear Lap is somewhat memorable. Like it has that charge thing to it. People die when they press it. That's kind of funny.
Well, but I mean, like that's not the point, right? Like it's more about the rarity of it.
Yeah, like I think people are going to remember like not getting it for 14 weeks and then getting it on bad luck protection because that's how most people get it, which is really bad.
I mean, the way I see it is, I could be completely wrong about this, but I feel like a lot of players don't really give a shit about how
the meta balance
OP the legendary is.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean,
like,
yeah.
I'm just thinking back to like myself back in Legion. Like I know a lot of people always complain about like, oh, they couldn't get very good legendary in the first season and all that, but for me personally, like I wasn't a tryhard back in Legion, right? Like I just played pretty casually. I was basically as close to a mole person ever back in Legion, right? Especially in the beginning, and I had a fucking blast, even though I never got my good legendary.
Yeah, I think it would be similar to the evoker thing, where if you were to like somehow accurately describe this concept to a large group of people who play WoW, the answer is, man, just give us a cool legendary. But I bet the approval rating in high-level players' chats would be extremely negative because of balance and tuning, right? I think it'd just be the same thing.
Yeah, it was just like Legion, me, didn't give a fuck about balance. Like, I just played Boomkin because I thought it was cool, and that's just like what I played. I did not care about the meta. I didn't, like, I mean, yeah, if I didn't get my good legendary, I was like, oh, fuck, it would have been nice if I got Emerald Dreamcatcher. But I still had a ton of fun with whatever I had.
I will say I know a lot of people that, like, didn't roll a Rep Pally in Season 4 because they didn't have the legendary and they knew they couldn't get it in any reasonable time frame. But that's maybe, like, a Season 4 problem, not a regular season problem.
Yeah, I mean, that was also really weird because, like
that, even if they just buffed it going into Season 4, it would be good. Yeah. I mean, you play Ashkander, but that feels really bad.
That's true.
Like 10% DPS loss as well. That's like enough where it feels bad for way more people than if it's like a 2% DPS loss.
I do wonder how Legion stuff would be perceived nowadays. Whether it's like the Legendary or Artifact Power or Titanforging.
I agree. It'd be fascinating to see. I think it'd be extremely polarizing. I think you'd see a lot of people like, this didn't work back then, and then... But there was a level of coolness to all of that borrowed power stuff, even the stuff that didn't work, that gave you a little bit of extra oomph in the expansion that isn't there when you're rebuilding the base game, right? I think that is very clear, especially the ends of the expansion. There's nothing like the way that the War Within and Dragonflight are constructed does not create a scenario where you can have something as good as what the end of those expansions were. They were really ambitious. They started out not great, but when it all worked together, it was just like fucking insane. And there's not anything like that now, but the baseline is so much higher. In the beginning of the expansion, when most people are playing, is so much better. Also, I don't think, this is a weird take of mine, I don't even think Titanforging was bad. I think the sockets were bad. Titanforging, like, where the increases weren't, like, okay, plus 50 Titanforges is fucking ridiculous, but like plus 10, 15 eye level back then when eye level didn't mean that much, the upgrades weren't that OP, but getting a socket was way too OP. So, like,
well, I mean, Titanforging, if they would have just capped it at Mythic Raid item level, it would have been, in my opinion. Like, I think it's still a good system, you know.
Well, how do you feel about like open world stuff, Titanforging to mythic level?
So
okay?
I think the problematic part of that is if open world stuff somehow becomes Omega Bis because of like weird trinkets and stuff. Like, I don't think you should have to, like, for instance, Bell in Shadowlands, remember that like Boomkin trinket?
Yeah.
Like, if that stuff exists, but to me that's the item being a problem and not that.
That's true. Yeah, that's good.
But
we had that in Legion, right? We had Devil Sword, Shock Baton, and
yeah, exactly,
Withered Gem trinket.
Well, also I think if it's like very small, like let's say it's like on par with other trinkets, and maybe it's like slightly better if it like Omega Super Titan forges. If anything, that's like kind of cool. Like, imagine like a stat trinket that's like, you know, 0.5% better or 1% better, but it's like, you know, oh, it's a Titan Forge, a random like, you know, super lucky thing that you got. That's actually kind of cool, as long as it doesn't like actually influence the numbers. I think the people that whine about, oh, this guy is from LFR, but he got 2 good items, like, those people are ridiculous. I never understood that take. I generally like sympathize and like a lot of the classic WoW takes, but the people that point to other people and are mad that they have a Titanforge gear, like, okay, first of all, if you have an LFR Titanforge piece, you look like a fucking idiot. Like, it was such like a stupid thing to have an LFR Titanforge
no,
plus 4, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like people are looking at that item being like, wow, that guy's a mythic raider.
I don't
like,
think it's that though. I don't think it's people mad that other people got upgrades. I think it is people not liking the gameplay loop of feeling like they have to spam monotonous, easy content to get potentially BIS gear. It's like, I don't want to be killing mobs out in the world because I can randomly get this item. I'd rather have like some idea of where I can get the best game and where I can get the best gear in the game, and it's in content that also is compelling and fun.
Yeah, but wouldn't mole people love that?
But we don't know if mole people are real. That's the whole bit of this thing.
Look, this is what I said all of BFA. I mean,
Pete was just making his mole voice.
Man, this is what I said all of BFA. I literally never spammed islands. I basically never did them. I never did any of this shit, and I fucking dominated everybody, okay, you guys? I was literally top 10 on the ladder every season. Gold parses.
Yeah, look at you now, man.
Like,
I miss old
what
Pete.
did you say?
Shit.
Look at you now?
Pre-streamer Pete. Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Back when you were passionate about the game, and now
back when he invited you to his MDI teams. Yeah, that's tough.
Damn.
Oh, that's tough. He's out of the call.
What the hell? He left.
Oh, he fucking left the call. He fucking left the call. PoddyC the bench.
Fucking left the call. All right.
Fucking,
here we go.
Yeah, we started our beef. Let's go.
Let's fucking go. Hate that squishy guy.
Get him the fuck out of here.
Amen.
He's back.
Welcome back.
Amen.
I don't have anywhere else to be. It's okay. I'll take the abuse. I'm a healer.
Yeah.
All right. So what were you saying about BFA?
None of this stuff was necessary. People pretended like it was, but I mean, like, it was I like it because it gives people the option to grind to get very, very slightly more powerful. I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, to me, it's the same complaint of, oh, I feel like I have to play Plunderstorm and run into the gas to get these transmogs, right? Like, you don't have to do anything. You're just doing it because you want to. Like, I don't know.
That's true. Wait, hold on. I just realized that like contradicts the whole mole behavior.
Yep.
Because I mean, there is a difference between your character deals 1% more damage and your character has a new transmog for like a lot. For me in particular, like one of those.
Yeah, but they're all
I feel
about
fine,
like, you know,
going out on the weekend, and the other one I feel like I'm griefing my guild if I go outside.
There needs to be a study done on the people who played Plunderstorm and ran into the gas. It needs to. We need to understand that is the first bit of research into mole that will give us some insight into how that works. Yeah, because that was actually crazy.
Wait, that ASCII almost goes hard. It's close.
Wait, why is its glasses like fucking broken? We need to wait. That's his nose, I think. It is his nose. It looks like he has. It looks like someone hit him in the face.
Aw,
poor little guy.
X is insulting the mole people.
Also, I just feel like we need to keep clarifying the mole people because I know some people in chat that I've seen are still not getting it. They're like, mole people exist. I am one. Very specific. Mole people does not mean casual. Mole people more specifically means, and I hope I'm getting this right, casual people that never want to feel challenged when they play games ever. That I think is that's what mole people mean.
The whole thing about delves, right, is like okay, delves are cool because they're single player content that you can get rewards from, right? I'm cool with that. The thing that I'm not cool about is saying that, okay, that's all it needs to be. It just needs to be brainless idiot do a quest. Give it, like, to me, there's no people that, like, if they made delves challenging and cool, like, I think those solo players would enjoy it way more. But instead, it's just, you know, not. And everyone says, oh, this isn't for me. This just isn't my content. Like, who is it for? It's for these mole people that live underground, that never talk, that never say anything, and then they just come out and they are in masses, and that's all of WoW, and they just do this brainless content, and they don't want, you know, to play a tank or a healer or a DPS. Like, they just want to kill, you know, whatever it is and collect 12 cobalt candles.
Someone mentioned ARPGs. They said, I'm a mole person in ARPGs. But, like, I think what you mean by that is, like, you're always doing content that, like, you're going to blast through really fast to get gear. But isn't the point of doing that to, like, get your build really good, and then, like, you end up pushing the level of, like, whatever content you're doing so you can more efficiently farm gear and get experience? Or, like, at the beginning of Diablo, for example, like, try to kill... And not everyone tried to kill Lilith, right? That's probably not mole people behavior, but, like... if a lot of people played RPGs and every single time they fought a mob, they had no chance of dying, it did no damage to them, and they always did content that they were way over leveled for, that eventually you have to try to push it a little bit, or else what are you even farming gear for? It's just, there's nothing in the game, right?
Exactly.
I don't know.
We need to find the head mole.
Is that Meg's dad?
We need to talk to Meg's dad.
I mean, I genuinely think, though, that any of these people that we talked about, like, oh, these are people who are well-spoken, casual WoW players or whatever, I think all of them would agree with me. Like, I think if I say, well, what if they made delves, but it was, like, more tailored to your class and, like, the objectives were cool,
yeah,
and it was, like, they would actually challenge you and you might have to try to do the harder ones a couple, they'd be like, yeah, that sounds sweet, I'd love that. Like,
I've never, ever met a casual that is not wanted to be challenged at all. Like, that just doesn't, that's not what video games are. Like, there's some level of, like, you're challenging yourself in some way, even at a very low level, right?
Yeah, I mean, Elden Ring and those sorts of Souls games, I think, are the perfect example. Like, there are tons of people who I would consider omega casual, like, non-serious, non-competitive, and, dude, they play Elden Ring, they play those games, and they get far, too. It's not like they, you know, okay, there are some people that sell their souls and they cheat and they summon, but I would say a large majority of the people that play Elden Ring at least try to, like, you know, set a challenge and, like, overcome it.
Oh, wait!
And they want that.
I do know of a mole community. There are people, and I know this is a thing because I have a friend who does this, that play, like, single player RPG games. So a game like Fallout, a game like Far Cry, or whatever, but they exclusively play these games on first playthroughs by immediately either hacking the game, using cheat codes, or under some other means immediately get all the best gear and weapons in the game and just shit on everything from the beginning to the end. That's mole as fuck, right?
Well, but it's got, like, storyline.
That's
stuff, right?
Kinda, yeah, but yeah, you're right. The story would be the reason you're playing. Maybe that's the caveat. But, like, well, that is a group of people I know exist. I know people like that exist.
Do you know why they play? Like, why do they?
I mean, there's definitely people who enjoy being, like, overpowered. Like, I can see that.
Yeah, but always, it's like, it's kind of like, I mean, there are people, and I forget who else I was talking to, but they, like, listen to a bunch of interviews to understand the psychology of these people. But there are adults that, I mentioned that just to point out that they're not, like, kids trying this for the first time. There are adults that, like, buy cheats in multiplayer FPS video games and, like,
oh, but that's different.
And, like,
there's people who smurf in League. Like, there's people who are, like, well, I mean, mid-platinum or whatever that just can't have fun playing at platinum and only have fun playing in bronze.
Like, there are people who only have fun going into, like, yeah, I guess it's different because you're shitting on other players, but they're never challenged. They never, like, the feeling of getting good at one of those games and just being better than someone and beating them and then sometimes losing and then getting better from it, those, like, that's the fun, right? But for some people, they never go through that and they just want to be better than everyone else by cheating. And then what's really crazy is, like, the psychology when you listen to them talk is, like, they do the game and they actually think they're better than those people. It's not like they understand what they're doing. They're like, it's not that much of a benefit and stuff.
Which
like
I do think that's a little bit of a different type of mole person than somebody who's just like, yeah, I come home and I like to relax by questing in WoW, and, like, I like getting the dopamine from turning in my exclamation points and my guy leveling up, and
Oh, those people are psychopaths.
I like that.
Yeah, not the WoW people. The people
Smurfers.
the people who intentionally cheat and only cheat in FPS video games as an adult to beat other people that are not cheating are absolutely psychos.
Yeah.
Wait, fuck, I did that, but I was a kid then. But
I give all kids, to the extent if you are a kid and you like cheated in a game one time, I give you the pass. I think as soon as you make it a habit, and when you're an adult doing that shit, I think you are definitely someone that should be on a list, because it doesn't make sense that you would have fun doing that. It's almost like you enjoy the demise of other people.
Well, it's owning noobs. Yeah.
It's psycho behavior. Like if there's a crime spree in your area, someone that is cheating in video games did it, I think.
I feel like
there's nothing wrong with shitting on kids.
I feel like the wonder of what it would be like in doing it, I feel like is fine, as long as like you don't, you know what I mean? Like if you're just a chronic cheater, that's really weird, right? Like I don't know. Like I feel like if you're wondering like, oh, what would it be like to like do it? Like I feel like that's a genuine thought, and then to like try it and like maybe have fun for like 1 or 2 games, but to do it all the time and like to do it for years and be like a cheater, like I feel like that's really weird. By the way, did you guys see this? What was it? It was maybe a week ago. This post about matchmaking on Twitter about what they did in Call of Duty. It was like a Blizzard report.
No.
So basically, what they did is they run these experiments all the time. I believe this is specifically Call of Duty. So they flagged a certain number of people. They didn't say how many people in Call of Duty matchmaking, like whatever the competitive format is, and they basically griefed their accounts so that they didn't have any skill-based matchmaking. So it was just they would queue. They thought it was ranked, and they just it was ranked, but it was just completely random what the matches are and it was basically like quick play with absolutely no limitations. And then they measured about like fun levels or whatever, and basically what they determined is that, let's say you bucketed every player between like 100% to 90% skill, 90% to 80%, only the top 10% of people had slightly more fun playing the game, and the other 90% of people had significantly worse time. So even the 10 to 20% of players didn't enjoy non-skill based matchmaking. Only if you're in the absolute top 10% do you feel like you want to just own noobs all the time.
Yeah,
I'll link the graph or whatever. It doesn't really show much other than what I said, but there's like a
what's up, Lizzie?
or whatever that one of the Blizzard guys posted on.
You guys
Twitter.
in chat? That's my sister in chat.
So. Basically,
and it's
unless
her
you're
birthday.
in the top 10% of skill, you would rather have fair matches. But once you get into the top 10%,
she's an ER doctor in Miami, and she's turning 29
that
today.
kind of explains like battle royales.
Let's fucking go.
Battle royales. Yep. Battle royales is all about just like being the last one alive and just like fucking owning noobs.
Yeah, well, that's what's crazy about it, right? Is you would think that like the 10 to 20% gap and the 20 to 30% gap, like in theory, they should have more fun too, right? Like being in that. Being like way better than average should be better, but I guess in practice, unless you're literally the best in almost every single lobby you're in, you're not going to have more fun than having fair matches.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like the success of like Shroud, for example. Like whenever Shroud goes into a new FPS and it's just like him just dominating noobs, like that's like super exciting. And like same with like when Peekaboo was playing Plunderstorm, where he's just absolutely farming these lobbies.
If you are a good gamer and like you're really good at games and you're really good at getting good at games fast, there's nothing more fun than the first like 1 to 2 weeks of a game when you are like, you will never be more like skilled in the competition than someone who's like that in the first few weeks of a game, because it just takes other people. Like if you play Apex a year later, there's going to be even like less skilled people that just play like absolute like camping idiots and like have all the strats and like, but like at the beginning when everyone just presses W and runs at each other, right? Like those people just farm. You can farm like no other.
Yeah, Plunder's got to be one of the best examples of this, where like if you were good at Plunder, you could have like a 80% win rate in Plunder solos with 60%.
It was like 90. You were winning like 20 to 30 straight games in the first 2 days of that thing. You could rack up hundreds of wins against people. God, that was.
But I had more fun in the like if I queued into a lobby with some good people, I had more fun trying to beat them than just stomping.
Oh, definitely.
59 newbies.
I actually had a lot. I had a lot more fun in Plunder when you had trios, because trios made like 40% of the abilities that were definitely not good enough in like solos and duos very, very good in team-based play. Like the group slow, that was super fucking good when you were hitting 3 people with it. Like that, it made a lot of the like design. I still can't believe how well made Plunderstorm was. That the most random thing in the world is them doing something like that, and it was like so well balanced and made and good.
Shout out to Plunderstorm.
Yeah, they should bring that shit back. Yeah, if they brought Plunderstorm back for like just 1 week, just like, hey guys, releasing, I'd play that shit every single fucking day.
Yeah, they just better not.
The problem
is
we need to incentivize it. I mean, they need to incentivize it.
They cannot put a unique skin, Dorki, because then everybody has to load into the game.
No, that's good. That's good. Then that's when we can do our study. That's
we can.
That's shit.
We can bait the mole people to the surface with some tasty food, like getting a tapeworm out.
That's the only way we can learn about them. We have to study them.
Bait them out.
I do wonder if they would add rewards back to Plunderstorm if they bring it back.
Forget about rewards. How would you guys like them to do Plunderstorm? Like, what's the best version of Plunderstorm to you? Like, let me give you an example. It's kind of confusing. Like, for me, I don't forget rewards. You can do rewards any way you want, because I think all of us would play it with or without rewards. It's just really fun, right? Okay. Mine is like every season, not at the beginning of the season, but like 2 to 3 months in, there's Plunderstorm, most of the same abilities, maybe rework a few, make a new one, remove some bad ones or something. And then maybe new map every now and then. But then, like, it's specifically not at the beginning of the season because there's already enough to do. And then it's certainly not permanent because like, for example, if Plunderstorm had been out, as much as I would have played it a little bit more, I think it would be like, it's good that it's in like short spurts so people can like all play it together. It's an event, it's a thing. It's kind of like push week philosophy in Mythic Plus, right? Like, it's the time when everyone's doing it. And that would be my idea. Do you guys have an idea of like how you'd want to have it?
Yeah, I think also, you know, mole people memes aside, they should do it at the same time as they just put some like pirate daily quests that give you renown in the real game, and then you don't have to plunder and you can get the same renown track progress.
Yeah, but
man, stop trying to farm the mole people. What is that? That was the most.
Yeah,
I must be the man of the people.
That was the
most
man of the people. I'm calling you out here.
We will
type
dethrone.
Type 1 in the chat. Type 1 in the chat.
Type 2 in the chat.
Oh my god.
That was that. You do not care about that at all.
Reward vote, right?
A lot of twos. A lot of twos.
Not do.
Oh, equal amount of ones and twos. Go ahead, Dorki.
People just wouldn't do Plunderstorm in that case, right? And like that just defeats the purpose entirely.
There's no nukes to farm.
Then they would if they want. Like, plunder could still be the fastest way to get the renown and stuff, but like, just let people who don't want to plunder at all get the same cosmetics if they do some pirate dailies. Or
I completely agree. By the way, it is not fun. It is actually extremely not fun to fight moles. Like, when you want to kill someone and they either just sit there and give up or run into the storm, I would have rather that never happen to me.
What if nobody plays Plunderstorm?
There will be enough people. An important lesson.
There will be enough people playing Plunderstorm. Fucking knows. There'll be enough.
I don't know, man.
If your game is only good because you force people to play it, your game is not good.
Yeah, I mean, I played Plunderstorm for weeks, and I constantly was in lobbies with people who would give you good fights. Like, it wasn't only lobby. Like, they added MMR at some point, or maybe it was there the whole time, but like, you did not have lobbies full of mole people a week or two into Plunderstorm. Like, you were.
I mean, it definitely started to die out. Like, it was 100% starting to like. The queues were slower, and there were like less people filling the lobbies by the time people got done with their cosmetics.
Bro, a pirate hat is not forcing anybody to play. Putting a pirate hat in Plunderstorm is not.
That's a crazy
I feel like
take.
Here's the problem with gamers, especially WoW players. You literally have to guide them around with a carrot in order to get them to do anything. So I don't think it's really like fair to say, oh, we're forcing people to play Plunderstorm. Like, WoW players will be like, if you put island expeditions where you get 0.001% player power every 10 hours you play, or Plunderstorm, people will just sit in island expeditions all day until you put that one carrot into Plunderstorm. Like,
So,
I don't know. I feel like it's not really fair to say you're forcing people to play just because there's mogs.
Oh, I agree with you.
I mean, they're kind of being.
I mean,
I think
the exact same comparison is PvP at the beginning of Shadowlands. Like, I would say that you would argue
like
that
N plus right now. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, I mean, it's like Mythic Raid, right? It's as if to say that I'm forced to play Mythic Raid. Like,
okay, well,
fair to admit it, but I like playing Mythic Raid.
Are you guys forced? Before the
all right, maybe that wasn't. I'm losing people points.
And
I need to
for any Mythic Plusers who do raid, they feel forced, but you have to understand that it's always going to be that way because like it's like how they design any game. In Lost Ark, to get the best gear in the game, you need to do your daily shit, and you also need to do the new raids that come out, right? Because that's just how the game is made, right?
Here wasn't a good example. That was a bad example, guys.
Well, I mean, here's why I think a lot of people are mad about Plunder. And I think it's actually really reasonable. And maybe what like kind of sparked all of it is because it was a mystery. Like somehow they didn't release it until like the day. And then they released it with an 8-hour downtime and allowed people to get really mad about it before it ever came out, which was really stupid. But people who were like really excited for this, oh, it's this black flag thing. I can't wait, guys. I cannot wait until this week to log in and do something in the game that I like. And then it was something not for them. And I think there's a massive aversion to any kind of PvP in WoW, regardless of if it's in-game or out-of-game. There's just, I would say a vast majority of WoW players never want to fight another WoW player for any reason in retail, for sure. And Plunderstorm, among other things, these are the Storm Runners. They wanted nothing to do with that. It makes them anxious. They don't like it. They don't like it. Or they just, whatever reason, they don't like it. That, and I think that's reasonable. Being like kind of led on a stick, like, oh, there's going to be this really sick content. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to log on today specifically to do this. I might take a day off work, and then it's just something that you don't want at all. I totally get people being mad about that. Like that makes sense. But the whole like, I can't believe you've forced us to do this because you put rewards in this game mode is fucking crazy. That's really weird to me.
I mean, is it that crazy? I feel like it's not that crazy.
Bro, if PvP has some like crazy Glad mount and I want to collect mounts, but I can't get Glad, fucking so be it. That exists in all kinds of parts of the game, right? Like if Plunderstorm has this mount, I guess maybe it's because it was technically obtainable. Like, do you think?
I mean, I agree with you. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I 100% agree with that. Like, there should be these types of prestige rewards, but there are absolutely a lot of people who feel super compelled. I mean, weren't a lot of people complaining about Glad mounts?
Would people have been more mad about Plunderstorm if they had Plunderstorm like ranks and like you got in a cosmetic based on the rank you got in Plunderstorm? Would that have made people more mad than the version where everyone could at least get everything, but they had to grind it out?
Oh yeah, people. Well,
then why aren't they mad about PvP all the time? Because PvP is a thing they don't want to do and they can't achieve, and they have.
I feel like it's just normalized because I bet
I
people.
think it's just like ingrained in the brain.
I don't know. I feel like, yeah. How long have they been doing Glad mounts? Like forever, right?
Yes.
The problem is, I feel like
people
arenas. Probably like Glad mounts existed before people became collectors.
Well, and no, so I mean there were people that complained about it, but back then, like there were a lot of anti-Glad mount people, like the original mole people. But now it's just like it's accepted that.
I laugh every time someone says mole people.
All right, I revised my take. I revised my take. Think about think about if they added rewards in Mythic Plus in between portals and title range, right? Like that's the sort of thing that they're doing. Like it's not like would people get mad about that? Like I don't think it's forcing you to play it. It's more so it encourages people to put a little bit more effort into it, and it makes people who play it a lot feel rewarded. I feel like that's what the Plunderstorm rewards are. And I think if they had more rewards for higher ranks or whatever, I think that would be cool, but I think people would get mad, but people also always get mad. There are people who literally play at a level where Aug Evoker sucks, and they never play with any good Aug Evokers, and they hate Aug, and they want it deleted. They say that it's broken.
There was an angry tweet about a Abomination in Maldraxxus that has a broken model that I saw recently.
Oh.
Yeah, so people I agree will get mad about anything. It's a question of like, are they justified in it? But I do think that a lot of it with Plunderstorm as well is like it is kind of a fundamentally like casual aimed thing in WoW, and the casual aimed and PvP oriented parts of WoW are two pretty not overlapping parts of the Venn diagram. So I think the fact that casual, like a lot of casual non-PvP oriented people thought there was going to be something for them, and then it's not so much that there wasn't, but the way they could get it was by running into the storm, like, or obviously like, and some of them had a lot of fun actually playing and, you know,
or playing.
That was cool.
You included that, or
well,
you know, that could as an alternative strategy.
People, you know, to do that. I think that was cool, and I think a lot of people did have fun discovering that. But it's like if you know, take somebody up in a plane and then you tell them halfway up that like, yeah, we're going skydiving. Like, yeah, it's gonna be fun for a lot of people if they can overcome their fear. But like, that's not what they thought was happening when they got on the plane.
Oh, I would not be happy about that one bit. Yeah, we would.
That'd be crazy.
Okay, can we talk about why were people excited or hyped about it? I feel like somehow, somewhere, a seed was planted and they had
about what?
About the Plunderstorm thing.
Oh, I mean,
it was literally like there were so many dumb things on the roadmap or whatever that we knew that no one was going to care about, and they literally put one flat like pirate flag. Like, why did everyone not think it was just going to be like some stupid quest line? Like, I was like 99.9% sure it was going to be like some stupid quest line. Like, why did anyone have any expectations for that being good?
I mean, it was just,
it did end up.
It was just
being
exciting,
good,
right? It was just exciting. Like, it's just exciting that there was this thing that we didn't know about. It's never really happened. Right, so I think it was more that, like, I remember people got mad at me for overhyping it, and I don't really understand what that means. But like, before it was coming out, I said, guys, I think this thing is absolutely fucking sick. I think a lot of you guys are gonna like it. That's all I said.
Yeah,
and by the way,
we all know that you had insider.
Well, by the
right?
way, I not any time before you guys did, but I
really,
we were all part of that tournament, right? That, well, besides Dratnos, like we were. That's the only time I yeah, Dratnos should have been. That was the only time I knew about it. But I said I thought it'd be really cool, and also, by the way, I fully stand by that, and I agree with myself. I guess I think it is fucking sick. It's like two of my favorite things, WoW and Battle Royale, and it was also good. Right.
I'm gunning down a chatter. This guy, how often does a new game mode come out in WoW? This answers why people were excited. You didn't even listen to what I said. Like, how did anyone? No one knew it was a new game mode. What do you mean? It was literally a pirate flag that was on a roadmap of like 50 other different things. And then they're just like, oh, it was obvious that it was going to be a new game mode. Like, shut up, chatter.
I mean, people also like, I remember people said that they were mad at Cyberpunk for being bad, especially because Cyberpunk overhyped it. And it's like, Cyberpunk just marketed their game like any normal game. I think the community was just like really, really excited and hyped for it, right? Like, they're like, people were saying like, yeah, Blizzard like fucking tweeted some pirate flags and they were like doing little teasers. It's like, yeah, I mean, they're trying to get you to play. They're always doing that. The hype is usually community generated, right? It's not like a game's fault for saying like, hey, we're coming out with this new game, and then people are excited for it. They're like, it wasn't good, and I'm extra mad because I was hyped. Or, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely people's fault. Like, how can, like, what does that even mean, the developer? That's sort of what I was asking, right? Because it's not like it's, like, a developer can spend money marketing it or whatever. I guess maybe they could say, like, oh, this is going to be so crazy. Like, I guess they could do some stuff to overhype it, but
it's also pretty rare for WoW to do that thing where it's like, here's something, we're not going to tell you what it is. And that's like inherently hype building if you don't overdo it.
Yeah, I guess maybe you guys.
True. It's the first time they've done that, right?
It's pretty rare.
Because normally they announce ahead of time.
Yeah, Holly Longdale tweeted an eye emoji before it came out, which is, I mean, that's pretty criminal overhyping to me. Shouldn't be doing that.
So, are there even casual PvPers in WoW? Like, no shot, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah, there are.
Exist. They're like more mythic.
Absolutely,
it's a pretty small. Oh yeah, that's a pretty small section.
Well, what do you mean by that? What do you, like? What does that mean to you? What is a someone who logs into the game every now and then and they're like, yeah, I'll fucking do some twos real quick. I'll fucking go in a battleground. Yeah, those people exist. I think they do random BGs a lot, actually.
Rush is dead as hell.
No, I have a guy. I know exactly. Well, so basically, I have this guy who I used to play poker with who figured out I play WoW and I have him added. He's basically like some guy who used to play PvP like forever ago. Every single patch he logs in, his gear is always complete dog shit. Like it's never like, oh, I'm glad like I have all this gear. Like he never does dungeons, never sets foot in raid. He basically just logs in, like queues with random people in Group Finder or like his old buds to like get to like 1600, 1800 or whatever, and then is like, this game sucks, and then quits, and he does it.
Nah, that is not casual, man. 1600, holy dude, 1600 nowadays. You get paired up with Peekaboo.
Oh, I mean, well, that's because everyone in PvP is a smurfing, great person. Actually, okay, let me log on. Well, has rating reset? Like, can I log in right now and check it? Actually, no, I can't. I don't know if I can check.
You guys know how people think Mythic Plus is like, you know, there's that like very loud Twitch, Twitter community that's like extremely high end and like represents a small portion, bro. PvP is that times a million though.
Yeah, that is
like the people that still play the game a lot in PvP are like exclusively. It's like as if Mythic Plus existed for 10 more years, and that's what it looked like. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing.
Well, I mean, you have to be dead as fuck.
It is also dead as it is. It's like only like the relative portion of players that are like the super degenerate tryhards is significantly higher in PvP, and it's also a much smaller community. Yeah. Also, they've had a really interesting thing with Solo Shuffle. Like Solo Shuffle has had such an interesting like impact on that game mode.
Dude, speaking of Solo Shuffle, I'm actually hyped for Solo Shuffle RBGs.
Yeah, BG Blitz.
I actually kind of want to play
that. It does sound. There's no, I don't know, man. RBGs hit this feeling when it's going well. That is pretty high tier as far as WoW goes. It's fucking great. Like I think most like tryhard RPG people might hate it because like there's people who do RBGs that like if someone were to get capped on, they want that person dead. Right?
Dude,
but like
the crazy part is they want that and then they queue up again after the RBG's over.
Oh yeah,
they just hit re-queue. Like they're insulting this person's like entire lineage and like, and then the game is over and then they just queue.
Yep, it's a different world. There's those people probably not gonna like it, but for like, I don't know, I could definitely see myself queuing up. I think that would also be crazy good stream content too.
Oh yeah, I think if it wasn't the biggest problem that I have with RPGs, I think, is that there's just a huge gap. Like there's basically people who are like mole people of RPGs, and then all right. I guess I am using it derogatory. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry, guys. I shouldn't.
You got to keep it in check.
So there are people who are very, very bad and never play, and then there are people who are like Omega RPG sweat lords who are just like 3K rated, and it feels like there's nothing in between. Like I remember when we were learning RPGs or we were playing them to be in Shadowlands, like it was very rare that we actually had a match that was like, oh, this is a cool match, this is close. Like it was either a full team of RPG sweat lords that are like doing these crazy strats, and then there's just random people who are just like getting rolled over by just like button mashing. If there were more people playing and more skill like buckets, I feel like RPGs would be really fun.
Dude, I wonder, like, if they have like solo queue RPGs or whatever, I just feel like there's a line where you need some level of communication, and I hope for the first time ever people use in-game voice chat. And like I would just well, I mean, you wouldn't be able to stream it, but like I would just love to experience what a fucking in-game voice chat solo queue RPG sounds like. I mean, you would hear so many slurs. Like it would be out of control.
It'd be like Dota 2.
Because like that happens, I mean, in RBG groups, it is already like that, and that's within an organized group, bro. Could you imagine if they had some random fucking idiot like holding a flag that they've never even met before? People would be violating their social contract.
Oh yeah, there would be twit longers. Oh yeah.
Let's just say it would get out of control. Be like some Modern Warfare 2 kind of shit. I feel like you would have to. Like, you can't do an RBG and not talk. Like, it's like I would say RBGs probably have more things to communicate than like every single version of WoW content. Arena, actually maybe not Arena, but at least Mythic Plus and Raid. I think even in Raid. think in RBGs, there's more things that require communication than Raid does.
Yeah,
for sure.
well, just because you're so far apart, right? Like, there are people, like, you might be on a point, and then there's, like, 2v2, and then 2 people leave that point to go to another point, and then it's like, there's no way for that other point to know there's 2 people coming unless that other point communicates, right? Like, that's because everyone is so spread out in most RPGs. Like, I think it would, like, I actually think they could maybe develop maps where you don't need to, like, what's the map where, like, there's like 4 things that you have to hold, and then like if you go in the middle you get double points or whatever. Like, I feel like that wouldn't take that much coordination, right? Like, you just see what people are doing. But like the really big maps with the cap points definitely need to be in voice.
Yeah, he's talking about Temple of Mogu. That one's so chaotic.
Holy, that one's a banger.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not in, like, it doesn't have depth or complex, but what I'm saying is, like, as a person, you can see more or less everything that's going on and be aware of it, right? Whereas, like, on another map, like, there are literally just things happening that you cannot get on your screen that you need somebody to tell you.
I mean, how much communication is there really even in Raid anyways? Aside from just, like, the Raid leader calling shit out.
I mean, I think in most scenarios...
Even that's, like...
I don't think Raid... Well, it's weird. Like, you could say there's a... Like, there's just, you have your timers on your screen, but I think most people, if you've raided, especially not at, like, the world first level, like, at any guild level, like, you guys have probably raided in a guild where you've had a really good raid leader versus one where, you know, they're basically not really saying anything and you're just using your timers. There's a massive difference in the guild's performance level with that. Like, clearly, like, there's something about how many things you can track with your eyes and yourself versus hearing someone telling it to you can just, like, make you more aware of everything around you.
But there's no communication between players, though, right? Like, it's
not
just
at all.
one person kind of.
I mean, some fights probably like, hey, I missed a kick, I missed a stop. Can someone do that? Right, but that's like pretty rare.
Yeah. Like, that's more along with like what I'm talking about, because, like, you know, like with a lot of these PvP modes, there's a lot of like interplayer coordinating specific things happening.
Wait,
but
so what if instead of having a raid leader, what if we just all change our identity / name to the people in Liquid, and then we just play Liquid's comms of Max raid leading while we're raiding, and we just pretend to be those people, and then just every single guild is raid led by Max.
So there's like a literal voice package of me raid leading the fight that plays when the fight starts, and then you get told.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you could do that without even changing your name. Like, you could just...
Well, you would just have to know, like, okay, I'm
fired up, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, or I could just, you know what your nickname is, or I
use AI.
or you use AI. You use AI.
Your strategies, we're already copying your weakness. We already copy your builds, everything, right? We may as well just copy you as well.
Turn me into AI.
Wait, yeah, that's a fucking hack.
Turn me into AI, or have like a thing where you can record the voice lines of like the people's name. So it'll be like, okay, we're gonna use Spirit Link by X person, and then it's like you being like Donnie, and then it just goes back to my voice, but you just have to record the name in your. And that would be funny as fuck.
Like those answering machine messages, or you have reached Dratnos.
Yeah.
Leave a message.
Except you did it in the same voice. It would be like, you have reached Dratnos. And then it goes back to the, please leave a message. Okay, by the way, you don't sound like that, by the way. I just had to make it sound different.
Oh, that's tough.
By the way, apparently...
Is this a PoddyC Patreon incentive? Max voiceover pack?
Oh, fuck. Dude, no, we should record people's answering machines. Do people still have those?
I have... If I get to the point where I start hearing that you have not picked up the phone, how Olympically fast I hang up should be studied. There's no world where I would ever... By the way, none of you guys should ever leave people messages. That's some old shit. Never do that.
I've never done that before.
You've never left someone a voicemail before?
I'm pretty sure I've never done that before.
I mean, I haven't done it in a long time.
If I don't pick up, I just fucking hang up.
Okay.
Dorki's never petted a cat.
If you guys call me and you leave a voicemail, my opinion of you is different forever. For sure.
You've never pet a cat and you've chosen a cat as your avatar?
Well, I mean, it's just a chat blocker.
It's just a...
What the fuck?
What?
I mean, you know how, like, you know, some people just have, like...
Wait, dude, I'm on fire right now. Okay, here's the next Patreon incentive. If you get to 10K monthly, you get Dorki petting a cat.
Okay, 10K monthly.
You only get to
does that mean 10K
Patreons?
That's insane.
20K Patreons.
Man, is it that crazy? I mean, it's like, you know, like some
How many
people have, like,
Patreons do we
No, it
have
isn't,
right?
but people are dumb.
as a
How many
profile
Patreons do we
picture
have
or,
right
like,
now? Are we fucking cooking or
like an
what?
Anime
We're
girl.
over $5,000 a month now.
Really?
Yeah, all of it's going to Fronk though. He said.
Yep. I
was about to say I don't know if we pay him because he makes.
he made the Patreon, so he
Yeah,
can
but,
just
like-
take it.
Wait a second.
Because
That's a good point.
he makes a monthly salary and then he makes 50% of whatever my channel makes. So that's what he makes for me.
Wait, holy.
But I have no idea about what he makes from have we even talked about that from what he makes from PoddyC?
No, that's he just takes it all, man.
Does he really?
I mean,
I think so.
I don't know. I haven't seen a dime.
Same.
Yeah, I haven't seen a dime yet. I'm pretty sure. Dude, maybe he is fucking taking it all. That's kind of a...
Fronk?
Dude, what if Fronk is just fucking swimming in it?
Bro, he
Yeah,
is definitely
he's
swimming
just planning on just keeping this going until we start asking some uncomfortable questions, then just shut it all down.
He said, guys, are you fucking stupid?
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
Yes is the answer.
What do you mean by that?
No way he still needs to ask that question.
Can he explain?
Let's fucking go.
It's actually hilarious that you're on episode like 30 something, and you're like, so what should we do with this Patreon? Where does this money go?
I mean, the where we really need to start getting money, doing ads on your
yeah, there is a
podcast
channel where he's tried to talk to us about this, and then we just didn't really reply. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Wait,
When did we last talk about it?
is that
Oh, we last talked about this last year.
was it really last year?
Yeah, it was literally from.
Oh, dude, there's a
2023.
there's a channel called Cut Talk. Wait, have we just
No,
been
there
piling up all that money?
Oh no, there is. What the hell?
We have been piling
can
up all
see
that
it?
money.
No, he can't. Okay.
Well, the last time
Wait,
we
holy
talked
shit! You
about
guys
it,
have a merch channel?
the last time we talked about it, I'm pretty sure. Wait, that's a lot. Do you guys just want to fucking roll for it? Like, if we split it,
Oh, yes.
that goes hard.
Yes, yes,
okay,
yes, yes,
new,
yes.
Hold on. New Patreon.
Yes, yes.
If we get to 35K on Patreon, then they're gonna roll for all of the. They're gonna death roll for all of the Patreon money.
dude, that would
new
be fucking
Patreon
sick
incentive.
content. Holy
Bro, I'm
shit!
pitching this to Tettles, by the way, because I know you guys are joking, but I'm an idiot. So, all right, guys, 50,000 Patreon incentive. All of the money from Patreon gets put into Dogecoin.
No,
Shit,
that's
this
really.
goes hard.
We could move the
Yeah.
market.
Once we get enough, we will buy a PoddyC Cybertruck.
Okay, that would go
Holy
fucking
shit.
stupid. We would it would be like the Stanley Cup. We would keep trading months with it. We'd just give it.
Oh yeah, timeshare PoddyC Cybertruck. Log in.
Just whenever I'm done with it, I'll just have that bitch autopilot up to Dratnos' house. Fronk said, "Guys, I need to pay my rent. I do not need a Cybertruck." Okay, well that makes it. Well, there ain't no way you're not paying your rent right now. Actually, I'm not making a lot of YouTube content. Maybe he
Bro,
is.
Fronk's
Yeah,
gotta be
ain't no
swimming
way
in
that
it.
we're just sitting here talking, doing nothing. We're like, oh yeah, maybe I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, like, we thought about that for the race before. It's like you get this big lump sum Twitch split, and it's like, okay, you can give everyone like a few thousand, or you just fucking change someone's life, you know? Just fucking roll it down.
Yeah, that sounds, dude. Rolling for the Patreon money actually goes so hard. Do you think people would like actually get mad or be offended by that if you guys did that, or do you think it would be like hype as shit?
If there's only 3 of us, I think if it went to me, people would be mad.
all right. Dratnos versus Dorki.
Yeah, well,
roll
okay,
off.
so we can just have me and Dorky roll for it, yeah?
Yep. Okay. Perfect.
Alright, that works.
Good
great.
solution.
Yeah.
I do not like this solution. I mean, we should though. We actually didn't we have someone who wanted to do like ad reads? We definitely should do ad reads and then do them well, because that is the best way to advertise other people that you're good at ad reads and they want to advertise to you. Because that is, I mean, any podcast that exists, Patreons are good. The majority of their money is from ads for sure. Maybe not gaming podcasts. Gaming podcasts are more Patreon pilled, but the like regular podcasts are all about like start your podcast, a little ad read. Most people skip through it anyway, but you still get paid for it.
We haven't had a single ad yet, have we?
No, I'll reach out to the people that wanted to do one again.
Fronk says, "Guys, I do not want in on the roll. I just want my cut." No, we should roll. I feel
That's
like
not how rolls work.
I don't think you
That
get
is
to
not how
buy
that
out.
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
think Fronk is getting it. Is part of it.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think Fronk doesn't really have the spirit.
You don't just get to not play credit card roulette. It's not up to you. That's what gambling is all about, is not having control.
I'm the only one with access to the... Oh, no.
He's threatening us.
Maybe I won the roll natty. Okay. Well.
Chat, kill him.
Yeah, get him out of here.
Get him. Get him, mole people.
All right, boys. I got bad news. I gotta dip. Well, I mean, it's been a nice little spit, but...
Yeah, it's been fun.
I gotta flop around and do some other shit.
I hope everybody enjoys this on YouTube when we don't do a PoddyC next week and release this instead.
No, we're not doing that. This is one day after.
Actually, welcome to episode 3 of The Bench.
Dude,
featuring
that would be fucking crazy.
That would go so hard.
You could probably like filter me, Dratnos, and Dorki's voice. Like you could do like AI filter it and just have it say the same things, but just in the cadence of Tettles and Squishy's voice, and just steal all of it.
That actually goes hard.
I wouldn't be mad, yeah.
I'm gonna pitch all these ideas to Tettles. I got the Patreon benchmarks. I have our next episode. This actually is really good for me.
All right. Thanks for the call, big dogs. Yep.
Later.
Later. Same to you, stream. Goodbye.